What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash, and we've got a super fun episode for you all today, redrafting the entire NFL. Matt, I mean, this was your baby. This is your idea. I want to hear you explain the rules here a little bit.
Was it my idea or was it Theo's?
I thought it was yours.
Okay, depends on how much everybody likes the episode. How about we say that? Yes, we're doing a Madden style redraft. If you've ever played Madden before, you know you can pick fantasy draft when you start up a league, and it puts every single player into a pool, and then it creates a random order, and you build the teams out that way. We want to know what it would be like if that happened in real life and not just through Madden simulation. So today we're going to be drafting the first round of that. Obviously, it's going to take a little while. And if you guys like it, then maybe we can hit up like a bunch of other rounds and kind of build each team out a little bit more. Yes. As far as the rules of it actually go, the order is random, or Blaiden, you have some.
Yeah, I went to this Tankathon and did the 2027 draft order. So it basically.
So, yeah. We'll be doing that to connect each player to a team, but ultimately it is kind of irrelevant. I didn't put too much stock into like coaching staff for this, frankly. It would have some difference for sure, and like different front offices value different things, but it's just probably a little bit too much for me to handle all at one time. I don't know if you guys were the same and much wiser than I.
No, I think if you're going at this from the perspective of every team has 0 players to start,
right?
Philosophy doesn't really exist, or at least it shouldn't, right?
It does. It would be good. It would be good to just draft who you think is best.
Exactly.
Right. But some teams will still weight certain things about players than others, or certain types of players more than others, especially if they have like strong offensive schemes. Sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Right. No, I think that's fair.
But I didn't take that into account. The big thing to know is that in this, if we went more than one round, it would be a snake draft. And we are not taking into account contracts whatsoever. We are assuming that it is like the regular NFL draft, and there is like a scale payment system. So there's no drafting a guy who's on a rookie deal for the sake of getting that cheap contract. There's no drafting somebody too expensive and then having to deal with that big contract. We're not worried about guaranteed money or anything like that. Not to say that these players wouldn't be on contracts, but just that the contract is decided by your draft slot. So we won't be bothering with that too much. I think that covers everything in terms of just the actual rules.
I have a request about the order we go in. Okay. Instead of going from worst team to best, we should give the best team the first pick and the worst team the 32nd pick. I know it doesn't matter because these are make-believe teams, but just when we say first overall, it should be the Seahawks instead of like the Raiders, I think. Just because that feels right within my soul that the Seahawks shouldn't get shafted in our make-believe draft here. In fact, they should get a bonus of the first pick. Because they unfairly had their team ripped away from them, you know.
In this sequence, Seahawks get the 5th to last pick, and the Rams get the last pick. But I see what you're saying.
Whatever it is, whatever list you're looking at, start at the bottom and go to the top. That's all I ask, because I feel bad for the make-believe Rams or the make-believe Seahawks here, who were contending for the Super Bowl, only to then turn around and get.
You don't feel bad for the make-believe Jets and the make-believe Browns who were gonna suck.
Nope.
I don't feel bad for the real life Browns.
I don't feel bad for any of them. I think that they are behind the 8 ball now, and they should be behind the 8 ball in this draft. That's my only request. I know it doesn't matter because this is not happening, but that is my request.
Okay.
In a real life version of this, you would also do like 3rd round reversal. In fact, how about we say if we are to take this farther after this episode, we do 3rd round reversal as it.
So no snake the first 2 rounds, and then the 3rd round it
does snake, and then it reverses in the 3rd round.
So you would go 32nd pick, 33rd third pick, and then you would get the first pick
of the third round
too.
as well. Yeah, it's what we do in the 32 team league, and a lot of fantasy leagues do it as well. And there's just such a big gap between the first pick and the 32nd that it's really not made up for by swinging around. So
I got that pick in the 32-person league, and I stacked Mahomes and Xavier Worthy. W or L?
You didn't get relegated.
I didn't get relegated. Nope.
But it finished a little tough.
It did.
So what did you, before we get into the draft and actually selecting the players, we got two things that we want to talk about. Number one is just your general philosophy for how you're going to rank players. And more importantly, the big question when you start a draft like this, how many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round? Clearly, there's going to be a premium on the top position. But at what point do you say, okay, now is the time for us to go non-quarterback and see what we can do with somebody later in the draft or just outside of the first round in general?
I think I can sort of kill two birds with one stone in kind of the way I've been thinking about it here, which is obviously you're trying to, in this sort of a draft, if you can get a franchise quarterback, right? Especially at the top 10. But once you get outside of that, we're going to start to see some edge rushers, maybe some receivers, some DBs. But the way that I've kind of pictured this is like, how many good players or how many high level players are there at each of these positions? And if I were to take Jamar Chase at pick 16 or whatever, how badly does that set me up for every other position down the line? Right. And so like receiver is one that I'm actually going to be very inclined to take very late in the first round. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I just feel like there's so much depth at wide receiver that if I'm not going to get a quarterback, I would rather get an edge rusher. I would rather get a corner, a safety. Like, I just feel like there's less depth at those positions down the line, and it's going to be harder to find good value there later.
Here's my thought. Number one, if you're taking into account scarcity really heavily, I don't think that's a bad idea, but to me, that is probably the most pro take a bunch of quarterbacks argument imaginable.
It is. And
right.
That's what I'm worried about, right? Is then do we take 20, 25 quarterbacks in the first round?
I think it's very, very possible.
Yeah.
I'll also say that my focus when it came to the non-quarterback positions, obviously, like, I'm a little bit stronger on positional value than you guys, but I also really value age. I think getting a guy who's really good for a long time is better than getting a guy who's elite for a short time, honestly. And I thought a decent amount about how each position ages. So I'm going to be a little bit less inclined to take defensive backs super high, especially like corners, even if they're young, because they just are so sketchy as they age. And I'm going to be more inclined to take receiver can age pretty well, edge rusher can age pretty well, offensive lineman can age really well, especially tackles can constantly stick in the league and be effective for a long time. And on top of that, with tackles, there's a serious level of scarcity with them too.
Yes.
But in general, here's what I'll say. I think it's kind of tough because if we all sat up here and we said quarterback, we'll take 10 or 12, but then we're out for the first round, right? We just take kind of all the obvious first rounders and then nothing more. Then that strategy will like end up being correct for the next few rounds, because part of the reason why you would feel pressured to take a quarterback high is because you'd be worried you wouldn't get one later. But if every team was controlled by people with the philosophy, like, don't worry about it, we're not going to take QBs that high, we're never going to reach, then you already know that you don't have that issue. Right. Whereas I think in a real draft where it's just you, and specifically, I think the big thing here is like, imagine you're the team that is taking the first non-quarterback. So let's say it's pick, 12, wherever you think that falls. And you want to take the first non-QB. Not only are you going to pass up on, a young guy who has the potential to be a franchise QB, which I think there'd be at that spot, basically, no matter how the board fell. But you would be saying, I'm going to wait to take my quarterback until everybody below me has multiple chances to get one. That's what you would say. Every other team in the league either has a quarterback or gets 2 more chances to get one before I get my guy. Incredibly risky.
Yeah.
Insanely risky. So in a vacuum, I don't know, I think the guy who would end up being the first non-quarterback, I'll spoil it, Will Anderson. In a vacuum, Will Anderson versus Cam Ward, if you took Will Anderson, and Cam Ward's kind of an unknown, even if we like him, right? Will Anderson would probably pan out as the better pick more times than not. Any quarterback who's a risk would pan out more times than not. But you're not just taking Will Anderson and then going home. It's going to be directly tied to what quarterback you get later. And if that ends up being, I don't want to be hateful. I'm trying to think. If that ends up being Kirk Cousins, right, a guy who's over the hill, then what are you really going to be able to do with Will Anderson? And I know there's going to be a temptation to be like, I'll tell you what, I'll take no quarterback, I'll tank and I'll get Arch. Very interesting, but the number of teams that would probably think about doing that is very, very high. Right. I actually split it into 5 tiers personally. I thought that was the best way to look at the quarterback market from a real life standpoint. You want to hear what I got? Not in the sense of how good they are, but in the sense of this draft.
Sure.
Number 1 are the studs, guys who go before the first non-quarterback, obviously, right? You can put whoever you think is deserving of being in there. I don't want to debate the minutia of whether or not you consider Jordan Love that type of guy and do that whole thing. But you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Then you have the second tier, which is like serious shots, serious options, guys that you think could be your quarterback long-term, either because they're young and you believe in their potential, or they're just solid now and you feel like you have enough time for that to be exciting. And you would be willing to take them at some point in the first round, right? Maybe not over the first non-quarterback, but you'd be willing to take them round 1. Then the third tier of guys is dudes who you don't really believe in as that type of guy, but other teams probably do. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. Theo, who's a quarterback that you're low on? Baker Mayfield, maybe, or like a Bo Nix or somebody like that. Those guys probably go first round into the real life. Well, Baker's a lot more questionable than Bo, I would say, because of his age.
Yeah.
Bo would definitely go in the first round. But you aren't as high on certain aspects of Bo's game, so maybe you wouldn't be willing to. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. But you feel confident that he's not going to swing back around to you. So it's not like you're just going to say, well, I'm not that high on Bo, but then lo and behold, second round comes and it's like, all right, I can work with that, right? Then the fourth tier is like long shot guys who maybe you like a little. So like Willis has played 4 games. I'd be interested in him, but I understand what I'm doing. Yeah. Like Quinn Ewers or somebody like that, whoever you want to put. And then tier 5 is like long shot guys that you don't love. So maybe you're not that high on JJ McCarthy or somebody like that, but he's young enough so where a team could say like, we'll do McCarthy for a year and like a vet, and we'll just say,
sure. Yeah.
My philosophy
go ahead, Theo.
With the quarterbacks, I think if you don't get a stud, that's a serious problem. The fact that someone out there has Patrick Mahomes, someone out there has Josh Allen, and you don't, that's a problem. My thought is, well, would I rather throw? There's a point, right? Would I rather throw Jared Goff at that problem, or would I rather throw Patrick Surtain at that problem? And if it's Jared Goff, you're playing not to lose. And if it's a stud at a non-quarterback position, I think that's more playing to win, because you're giving up value in the quarterback game once those top guys are off the board. And if you're going to take one just for the sake of taking one, like, yeah, maybe you won't bottom out. Maybe they're the type of quarterback that you can build an ideal roster around and win a Super Bowl like the Seahawks did around Sam Darnold last year or something like that. But the problem is when you're taking that quarterback, when you could take a Hall of Famer, you're already behind the 8 ball in building that roster. So for me, I think to me, it's a balance of finding the guys who maybe could be an Allen or a Jackson or a Mahomes or something like that in the right situation, right? And then build out a better situation for them later. But it's not too many quarterbacks that I think have the ability to be one of those top guys. And if I don't think you have an ability to be one of those top guys, I really didn't consider you in the first round. That was my personal thing. Now, those guys that you think that could be that, or could be anything close to that, I do think you take them over any skill position player. But guys that you think are like tier 2 or tier 3 quarterbacks at best, I would advise wait to pick them and draft somebody who could be a Hall of Famer or an All-Pro.
This is where I disagree with you. There's no waiting to pick them. There is picking them or not.
There's
picking them or not. 5-tier quarterback. And here's the thing: it's like, first off, the issue with this draft as a whole is that it is too big of an advantage to have a top pick where you get a quarterback. Right. So Roger Goodell, if you're listening, don't do this. Don't do this in real life. The current thing is good.
Do it, Roger. It'll be give the Browns the first pick.
But I think that it's easy to say, like, I would rather have a Hall of Famer than reach on a quarterback, reach in quotations, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is that, like, you're going to be horribly behind that. You can build a monster roster, and if you're rolling out there with quarterback 25, you're in really big trouble still.
Yeah.
And I think an anti-quarterback in the first round philosophy from the three of us would build a much more agreeable board when we post it on Twitter or something like that. And I think, especially if we control like through 5 rounds, it would feel right. But I really don't think that's how it would play out. Frankly, I think it's similar to contracts in the NFL, where it's like, well, it's like you would never give any guy who ever gets the money, the $50 million or whatever. But the reality is, like, you don't want to be out there. I think there's at least 12 or 13 quarterbacks that are pretty serious or really young. And I think there's at least 5 more guys that have shown enough and are young enough to be like, yeah, man, I would take them in the first. And I honestly wonder, I don't think that would be low. I don't think that would be low.
I don't think so either. I think the risk that you have to worry about, Theo, is like, this isn't Madden, right? If you do pass on a quarterback and you're like, well, I could make it work with a Brissett, or I could make it work with a, whoever, like name literally anyone, and Desmond Ritter, because you're controlling them, right? And to some level, you can make it work with that guy. In real life, that's Ritter out there, man. And so you are just going to be bad at quarterback, and you're going to be exceptionally bad is the problem.
You're going to be risking the entire season on Anthony Richardson, quite frankly. And what's
so wrong with that?
Well, hold on. Richardson might actually go pretty high.
Richardson would probably go in the top 32. There's probably of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Okay.
Richardson, I think would go in the second. I think he would go in the second round.
Me one-upping your Richardson love would be so
your quarterback
fire.
Richardson's going in this first round. I'm like, oh man, when I take Justin Jefferson, people, are you going to be mad at me?
No. I think Richardson would sneak into the top 32 because there is really no value in the Genos and the Rodgers of the world or whatnot. There's a lot of teams who aren't starting somebody who you would rather roll the dice on than Richardson. And like, there's probably, I was trying to think like who all would get picked in the first 32. Maybe some of those vets go, but you wouldn't be taking veteran Kirk Cousins in round like 4. You would kind of say at a point like, I'm waiting forever. You know what I mean? Kind of like how it works in fantasy football would be my bet. And then there would be a team that's like, well, we might as well take a shot on Willis and then we'll go get a vet. Or we might as well take a shot on Quinn Ewers or like, I don't know, Tanner McKee or some people like that, where they're young. So you feel like if we get decent play, at least we can be like, we've got decent play for a while and we kind of found value there. Whereas like the old guys who you know what they are, there's not as much long-term potential value. So I think that would be the guys that would be targeted, or like Penix or McCarthy or whatever.
Right.
Not that I believe in all those guys and think they'll all become great quarterbacks, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, you do believe.
16 of the top 32 contracts in the NFL are quarterbacks.
Mhm.
And I think that's probably going to be around the number that this would land on, I think, because I mean, here we have a certain amount of capital to use on our teams, right? And that's these make-believe picks. You get that's what you have to burn is your pick. In real life, you have your money to burn. So if the money dictates that the most 16 of the 32 most valuable players in the league are quarterbacks, like that should also maybe dictate that 16 of the top 32 most valuable players here are quarterbacks, maybe.
I think
something like that.
I think it undersells it because so many of the guys that I would have in the first round are on rookie contracts.
On rookie contracts. Yes. I think maybe
I
balance
looked at the same thing. I think it's reasonable, but I think the answer is there's also probably some young guys who are on rookie contracts who are non-QBs. There definitely is, of course, right?
Sure.
And it's not a perfect system because Watson's like 12th or something. I looked at the same thing. I totally agree with your mindset here.
There's a little bit of give and take, but
I think that there's a really good number of guys who are on rookie contracts. And while you might say, well, they're unproven, the fact that they're kind of unknown can sort of help them in a way, right? So like when we did the redraft, did we even consider anybody but Cam Ward for pick number 1? It's like, no. But I think Loveland is a monster, right? I think a lot of those guys are really, really like they're young and they're really kind of, I'm not proven, but they're looking very good at very valuable positions. But I mean, shoot, if anything, I almost think that we didn't go quarterback heavy enough in that redraft. I think the Browns probably would have gone with a QB, quite frankly. But
they probably would have, but I had control over them and I didn't.
And we let Shuck fall a little bit, and like we didn't take him for this.
Shuck went to 9, but like Carter went at 10. Like good players, they all went in the top 10. I mean, and I don't know.
Yeah, Carter at 10 was pretty low too on it, but that's a whole nother story. Right. I think there was just a number of non-quarterbacks that he would have gone over, but that's neither here nor there. I think the number is between 16 and 20 is what I landed on. And if you told me in real life that teams did some stuff that I was really uncomfortable with, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Right. I'm with you.
I wouldn't be shocked what teams did, but I just think if you're drafting like QB 16 or 17 in the league over like a real top player, I just think you're playing a little scared to me, but let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we might be a little bit scary. So first pick up in this scenario is the Rams. And I guess we're just debating who's the first quarterback that we would take here. Matt, you've been talking about youth matters a lot here. Mm-hmm. Is the first pick Caleb Williams?
No.
Who has the first pick?
The Rams. Oh, well, we haven't talked about the pick order between us.
I assume we're not going to have to come to a consensus, and it's just going to be
Matt, we'll give you the first pick. Theo, you can have the second pick. I'll take the third, and we'll snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be Drake May.
Yeah,
you would take May.
Yeah, I don't understand why you think it would be Caleb over May.
I'm not saying that it absolutely would be, but we talked about before when we did our quarterback rankings that Caleb has easily the best tools in the NFL, and there would be a lot of upside of taking Caleb Williams with him being.
But we ranked May above Caleb.
We did rank
May
above Caleb, but is it unreasonable to think that Caleb could outperform May this season?
It's not unreasonable to think that Caleb in the long run could end up topping what Drake May did last season or will do going forward whatsoever. I'd stand by Williams maybe having the best tools outside of size is how we put it for the record. And I would take Caleb Williams incredibly high, and I'm sure we're going to. But Caleb Williams also has some pretty major deficiencies with the accuracy. And I've got a guy here who was second in MVP voting, who was my 6th quarterback, who was 23 years old as well, who I just don't think has quite that big of an issue. If you told me that you're really high on Williams and you think his like top end plays are just so dope because they're better than May's, like we can say that, and you're more worried about May's pocket presence and his the taking of sacks versus Williams' accuracy, okay. But I ranked, they're the same age.
Yeah.
The potential is important, but May is already so good. It kind of feels like we've already got the MVP candidate right here in my mind. And he's got a lot of potential to improve as well.
He does.
Right? Why is, accuracy so much easier to improve than pocket presence or not taking sacks, right? I think both are things you got to work on, but I would take May here. I could also hear out the argument that you just go like best quarterback straight up and you think super short term, but I'll be real with you. I would take the extra 6 years likely that you're going to get from a Drake May type pretty easily over a guy who I might think is like in that next tier being Allen, Lamar, Mahomes.
Right. Yeah, all of those guys are kind of in the bottom half of the age bracket here. So,
dude, this draft order is making me rethink things because we are on Tankathon, just going in the reverse order. Yeah. I'm up next on the clock with the Bills, and I feel like if for some reason this crazy scenario came true and I had to make a selection with the team blanked for the Buffalo Bills, the fans might slit my throat if I didn't take Josh Allen, right? If I'm actually drafting for the Bills, like, wouldn't they be like, oh, great, like, let's just pick up where we left off here with Josh Allen? Like, why would we want Mahomes? Like, Mahomes hasn't had a better season than him in a while. Mahomes is coming off the ACL. Like, Josh Allen is our guy, so you better take Josh Allen here and not who I have ahead of him on my board, which is Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here because I am drafting for the Buffalo Bills and I feel representative a little bit of the fan base.
I will give you grace, and everyone will give you grace if you go Allen here.
Yeah.
But the Theo Ash that I know just goes Mahomes and doesn't think twice about it, quite frankly.
Theo,
no, I'm going Mahomes, and they're going to have to learn to live with it.
The number of people that are calling you a contrarian on our last episode is hilarious off of your running back rankings.
Gibbs was
the guy with the most yards ever in 2024 being the best running back is pretty crazy. You're right, guys. Sorry. But this is not contrarian. Nothing is contrarian about taking Patrick Mahomes. This is, if I'm a contrarian, I'm just hitting this one right down the middle. I'm not trying to do anything fancy with it. I'm not thinking about Jim from Buffalo and what pick he would make. I'm thinking about Patrick Mahomes and how many rings he has already and how he's already somehow back from his ACL throwing, I guess. And just expecting the dominance to kind of continue.
So we decided to go in this reverse order to reward good front offices, and the Bills got the second overall pick. Okay. I don't quite know about that one. Who's got the third pick, Blaiden?
The Baltimore Ravens. And this is another one where you very well could just go Lamar and give them their guy. But I am going to go Caleb Williams here. Look, Lamar gets sick too much, man. He's got to work on his immune system. And I do think Caleb Williams, having the tools that he has, like the most explosive runner, one of the biggest arms in the sport right now, I think him in Baltimore could be a lot of fun.
I don't think that Lamar is necessarily the guy who's next up, quite frankly. Well, I agree that Lamar's durability and leaning a little bit more on his speed probably makes you think that his play style both could age a hair worse than some of the other guys. Not that I think he's got no chance to age well, but you know what I'm saying. But between that and the durability, I think like Allen would be pretty clear the next quarterback you would go with in terms of just like the top guys. That's who you're really competing with, overtaking the youth and Caleb, to me.
Yeah, no, I was just saying Lamar for the sake of it's the Ravens, and maybe they would want Lamar back. But Allen would be the next guy to kind of take over that youth. Yes, you're right. So, and I guess I'm back on the board here with the snake, with the Eagles. And yeah, I think I will just go Josh Allen. I don't think there's any other quarterback that maybe Herbert, maybe he's the guy that you're like, could we build a good situation around him? Depends on how much you view the I get, because they're kind of the same body type, same frame and everything. But Allen has I think a better body of work thus far, and so I would still go Allen here for Philly. They kind of get a little bit of the power run game out of the quarterback still with Josh Allen there instead of Jalen Hurts. So
that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think I might lean Allen over Williams, but I see what you're saying, and I don't really doubt Caleb Williams enough to like want to pound my chest on that argument, if you know what I'm saying. But I kind of had it that May was truly proven to be an MVP guy, and he's gotten the 6 years, so he's next. And then I take like my true top tier guys, and then I go Caleb after that.
Sure. I guess the one thing that might be kind of flawed in my approach is that I don't also have Daniels up there with May and Williams, but he's also got the injury thing to be concerned about. So
I think that's a big deal for him too. And I don't think he's quite proven to the level that Caleb or May is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think May versus Caleb is interesting because May had a better season and I think operated more within structure and was just the most accurate quarterback in the league compared to the least accurate quarterback in the league, basically, is the difference between Caleb Williams and Drake May. Or maybe Caleb's not the least accurate quarterback in the league, really.
One of
statistically had a lot of bad throws, and even in real life had a lot of bad throws that missed the mark. But once they got to the playoffs, it felt like Caleb Williams was kind of carrying the Bears, and kind of to the same extent that Drake May is, or actually to a less extent, at least once you got to the playoffs. To a lesser extent, Drake May is carrying the Patriots when you look at the respective defenses. So I do think that they're still in a similar tier moving forward. And if May is the first overall pick because of age, Caleb Williams being a top 3 pick doesn't necessarily shock me. Now I'm on the clock with Seattle, and on our quarterbacks episode, I did shock the world and picked Herbert over Lamar on my list, just because Lamar had, I thought, a down year last year, not only statistically, but just from a movement skills perspective. I just thought he took some sacks that maybe he wouldn't have taken in the past. His pressure to sack rate was up like more than double where it was in 2024. He, even through the first 4 weeks of the season before the hamstring injury, he was attempting less rushes and taking more sacks than a first month in any other point in his career, and then ended the season with his lowest yards per carry since his rookie year and things like that. Whereas Herbert, I think, was more mobile than ever, right? More using his legs more than ever, taking on more physicality than ever. And I thought dragging a pretty horrible roster to the playoffs. Another guy who I'm going to think about taking in this draft was Alt. And when him and Alt played together, like they only lost one game. They were one of the top offenses in the league. They were actually very efficient, even though they ended the year as an inefficient offense. So I really think Herbert had a fantastic season last year, whereas Jackson didn't. But in 2024, Jackson had a season that maybe nobody else in history has ever had. And if he can
Herbert's never had a season the level of Jackson the year before.
No, God no. So it's a little bit tough. But I'm going to keep it consistent. I'm going to keep it with my quarterback rankings from a few weeks ago, and say I think Herbert's game is going to age really well. I think he's statistically better than what it looks like because the roster and the supporting cast is so bad. And I'm going to take him here for Seattle. I think it's very, very close with him and Jackson. I could end up with egg in my face, but I still think Herbert's a pretty, I think he is a very special quarterback who can keep your window open for an incredibly long time. So I'm going with him.
So through the first 5 picks, we've got May at 1, Mahomes at 2, Caleb Williams at 3, then Allen at 4, Herbert at 5.
Yes.
Yep.
And then
Now
that
the
gives me
Chiefs
the
are on the
6th
clock.
overall pick, who belongs to the Chiefs, and that would be Lamar Jackson for me.
Easily.
I actually think I think it's pretty fair to ding both him and Burrow, even more so than I did in just my quarterback rankings for durability. Like, it's pretty easy to see a world where, you know, if you're drafting with a pick this high, what could go wrong? If it's a guy who's getting hurt all the time and getting sick all the time and has stomach problems or worse, you know, can bang up their knee or whatnot. Yeah, absolutely. But there's only so big a discount I'm going to give for that. And there is a level of like overestimating injuries that I sometimes have walked myself into, quite frankly, when it comes to fantasy stuff or things like this. So Lamar Jackson at 5. I had him at 4 on my big board, so I think this is good value for the Kansas City Chiefs. At 6.
At 6, absolutely. And you've got the next pick for the Chargers too.
And I've got the next pick for the Chargers, the 7th overall.
Yep.
This would be Joe Burrow for me still. Both these guys a little bit older than maybe you realize if time is kind of like going quicker now that you're getting older. You know how it works. So like Joe Burrow and Lamar, they're both pushing 30 years old. And I could see a case for leaning towards the younger, more durable Jordan Love.
Yep, that's who I was.
But I'm going to stick with Burrow here, who I've got a tier above. You could also, I know you had Dak, but Dak is even 3 years older.
Dak's
than Burrow.
Almost 33.
Yeah, that's probably pushing it a little bit too much. So,
and he's had some injuries too, so like he's not perfectly durable either.
For sure.
It's fair to take Burrow over Dak here.
So I'm taking Burrow here at 7 for the Chargers.
Nice. Theo. Lions.
Again, I think I will take Dak. He is 33 and has the injury issues that you've mentioned, where he's had some ankle things in the past. That's the main one I remember was the ankle. I can't remember what they all are, but yeah, he's
his ankle too.
He's had some 8-game seasons, some 6-game seasons over the last 5 years or so. And he is 33, but like Matthew Stafford is 38 and he just won MVP. And I think that quarterback is a position with the potential to age very well, right? Like Aaron Rodgers was winning MVPs in his late 30s. Peyton Manning.
Sure.
Peyton Manning Favre,
good.
his first year on the Vikings, right? Like there are Tom Brady, obviously the pinnacle of this. Johnny Unitas. Check out the Patreon for our football Mount Rushmore. I go in on Johnny Unitas and how he won a Super Bowl 5. He's like 37 years old. So it's been that way. So that gives me a little bit of confidence that, look, 33-year-old Dak Prescott isn't that old. He's not that old. What was the quote on Rodgers, the Hail Mary versus the Lions? He turned 32 yesterday. He has a vintage moment in him. He's still doing it. He's still doing it. Now, it's not that, it hasn't been that good, but he also tore his Achilles. Maybe Dak Prescott can avoid something like that. I think that Dak Prescott still has enough years left and is playing at such a supremely elite level right now, I think, where I want Dak Prescott for the... What team am I? The Detroit Lions?
Detroit Lions with the 8th overall pick.
Detroit Lions with the 8th overall pick. You are now the proud owners of Dak Prescott.
Beautiful. And now I've got back-to-back picks here with the 49ers and Packers. For the 49ers, I am going to take Jordan Love. I know he's got a little hamburger in him. Well, Theo would... You know, I should just give him back to Green Bay, right? Would you prefer that?
Yep. Reach right here.
Then I'll swap. I'll swap my picks here. I'll take.
I don't know. No, this isn't right.
This isn't right.
You gotta take Jordan Love. Jordan Love should have gone above Dak.
I kind of agree, right? 27-and-a-half-year-old Jordan Love, and he's prone to a little bit of hamburger in him every now and then, but when he's on, Theo, you've mentioned it before, one of the most efficient and reliable quarterbacks in football. Another guy supremely talented, just really has a very, very good resume outside of like the occasional awful play.
Yeah, he does a good job avoiding turnover-worthy plays. We've talked a lot about him recently because of the quarterbacks episode. I think the gap between him and Dak is not bigger than a 5-year gap. And for as well as Dak could age,
Sure.
Jordan Love could also age potentially even better. We don't know. He'll have 5-year newer technology when he's Dak's age. So maybe by then they've sort of discovered like immortality in a sense, and everyone stops aging. And it's like, dang, by the time you figure that out, Dak is like 38. And it's like,
Right.
I wish we had immortal like 34-year-old Dak. We could really make this work. And not 38. Whereas Love will then be hitting his sort of current Dak. You see?
Yes.
Yes, I do see. I still think Dak is a little bit of a tier above Love, but maybe it's not enough for the age gap difference. I certainly can see that being true.
I'm not doubting that Dak's a better player.
Yeah.
Yes. And then with my next pick, give me Cam Ward.
So the 10th overall pick, you're taking Cam Ward.
Yeah. Obviously wasn't the most productive guy last year, but when you watch him on tape, you can see there's a lot of high level ability in there. The arm talent's very clear. The ability to hit stuff off platform, the ability to make plays happen out of structure with not a lot of receiver talent, not a lot of offensive line talent, no run game. His coach got fired like very early on because the play calling was such a disaster. I think you put him in a more serious situation instead of what was one of the worst starting quarterback situations in football last year. I think he's a very different player, and I think I'm betting on upside here, but I'm a really
Blaiden bomb of the draft hits.
What are we talking about?
No.
Who would you have taken over Cam Ward?
Trevor Lawrence, easy. Not even a question. Not even a remote question in my head. Yeah, no. Trevor Lawrence, easily. I mean, Cam Ward, I believe in Cam Ward. I do. I think that Cam Ward is a player on a completely different tier than the other rookies, even in this class, with the aggression, the arm talent, the accuracy, the out of structure ability. I like it all with Cam Ward way more than I like it with the other 2025 draft alum. Do I like it more than Trevor Lawrence? No, I do not. No, I do not. I think Trevor Lawrence is like, he was in a similar situation, I guess, right? Like his rookie year, he was the worst statistical quarterback in the league, or damn near it. And I had all the faith in the world that Trevor Lawrence would be able to turn it around out of Urban Meyer hell. But he's done that. We've seen him do that. And he closed the year on kind of this MVP pace. We haven't seen it yet with Cam Ward. And I think that there's too much projection there. Like, yeah, I like it. But wouldn't you rather have the guy who's like in his prime right now and has been to the playoffs multiple times and is, I think, even a little bit more physically gifted with his speed? I mean, where Cam Ward gets into some trouble is he's got great contact balance. He's got great ability to buck somebody off of his back, but he's not really ripping off the type of scrambles that I think
not super
Trevor
fast.
Lawrence can. And I think maybe someday his decision making will be better because Trevor, right, has some inconsistencies and he's not perfect, but like Cam Ward wasn't a T-Law level of prospect, and he's not on pace to have a T-Law kind of career. So I know that he's younger than Trevor Lawrence, but
I feel like Trevor hasn't had some like insane career thus far.
Neither is Cam Ward, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you're like, he's not on pace to have a Trevor Lawrence type of career. Like Trevor Lawrence is like even at Justin Herbert level of a career.
Yeah, maybe on pace to have the career after one like horrific season is poor phrasing. But I would just rather have T-Law than Cam Ward at the end of the day. Like it's that simple. Or Jaden Daniels, who you had in your top 10 quarterbacks.
That was actually the guy that I have next on my board is Daniels over Trevor as well.
Why, if you have Jaden, a top 10 quarterback in the league, why is Cam Ward the pick here?
Because I am worried about Daniels' injury stuff. And I do think like if I were picking them, I would pick Ward.
We convinced
You're more worried about Daniel's injury issues than you are Cam Ward, like, not reaching his potential. Like, okay, let me put it to you this way.
Sure.
Cam Ward not being an unknown, which he's an unknown right now. as much as I like him, again, this isn't a guy that I really want to go to war and argue
he's
against.
Not an unknown.
He's a little bit of an unknown. I think just he's what he's dead last in efficiency. He's dead last.
He is.
So will he ever be first? That's unknown. Is he ever going to be 10th? That's unknown. I think that there are things about his traits that aren't unknown, and some of the same things about Cam Ward that I'm high on are the same things I saw about Jordan Love, like going into his first season as a starter, where I was like, he's got the goods. Like he's an unknown, but I have faith in some of the things I've seen, like after that Eagles.
Yes.
It just was one game, that Eagles game, that gave me a lot of faith in Jordan Love, and it ended up being that, like, he showed the mental capacity and the physical capacity in that game. And like, that ended up being very real. I feel that same way a little bit about Cam Ward, but I don't think Cam Ward is got quite the ceiling even that like a Trevor Lawrence has, or a Jordan Love, or even a Jaden Daniels, because of the just how.
I mean, Jaden Daniels is such an explosive runner. And he's got such a big arm, and he's supremely accurate. I also want to see it's so with Daniels, it's a combination of injury stuff, and also I would like to see him do a better job of being faster to get away from his first read. He's gotten better at it so far, but it's still like, I think Cam Ward's better at that right now than Daniels is.
I would lean towards known quantities a little bit more here. I trust like my evaluations to a level, but when the other options, because this is what makes this draft a little bit different than I think other drafts, or like the regular draft, is like there's a lot less mystery with a lot of these dudes. So I think you can lean on like maybe positional value and that type of stuff more, or like age more. With Ward, like, I guess like his traits are an unknown, but what that comes together to be exactly is still absolutely. Yeah. I don't think you got a good feel for exactly where a player like Ward tops out. And I think the hard part of evaluating players, not only in the draft, but in real life when they're in specific circumstances, is figuring out, how those strengths and weaknesses come together and what they can work with, what they can't, how great they can be. I mean, I've said this probably a billion times on the podcast, but you go listen to those old, like, we're going to have this Hall of Famer review all of his negative draft profile traits, and they start reading them off, and you're like, dang, that's all true. Like, most of that is, like, based in some reality. It's not like they're sitting there saying, Tyreek Hill is slow as hell, or anything like that.
Yeah, it's like you hear them read Tom Brady's draft report, and it's like, he was gangly looking and had no muscle on him, and wasn't fast.
And guys develop. Ward, we don't know how he's going to develop. Guys do change in the NFL. I agree, it's probably less than people hope, right? It's probably less than people expect, but people do grow and change and get wiser. Ward is within I would take him above any non-quarterback tier, but he is like on that border, because again, he is kind of an unknown, but I do really believe in him, and I would also take him high. He wouldn't have been my pick. Lawrence would have been my pick at 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Ward just doesn't have the size and foot speed that Trevor Lawrence does, and I worry about him being a disaster under pressure, sticking a little bit. I think once his offensive line and receiving core is figured out a little bit more, he can rip great throws. But is he going to be a guy who has big splits from being under pressure to not under pressure because he's a little bit smaller, his arm slot is super low, and his foot speed just isn't crazy? Whereas T-Law, I mean, he's 6'6" and crazy fluid, just crazy fluid. So that's where I think the big difference is between them.
And this is what I mean by unknown. Does Ward's coolness and collectedness like end up turning him into somebody who starts making better, quicker decisions, and he's just not bothered by the pressure? Or is he too cool and that doesn't ever really change, and he just doesn't have, like, he's at more of an athletic disadvantage than he would have been while he was playing in Miami, for instance, and that's always kind of an issue, and he never gets to be like the consistent creator that you want? It's a very valid question, and I just don't think we know the answer to it. Lawrence is a known quantity a little bit and a very good, not amazing, not like elite player at this point in his career. But I would have also taken him just above Ward.
Fair enough. And so I assume, Theo, that'll be your pick here for the Patriots.
That'll be my pick here is Trevor Lawrence to New England.
Fair enough.
At number 11?
Yeah, that's 11.
And
we've
that
already
brings it to me.
talked about him. So yeah, Matt, you've got back-to-back picks here, Broncos, Texans.
Well, it's about that time. So pick number 12 is the Broncos, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take Jaden Daniels here. We've talked about him a lot too. Rushing ability. He's led great offenses before. He's got to get down more, and I'm worried about how that's tied in, and I'm worried about to his value on the field. Like if he's not scrambling as much, and I agree about the reads. Like we've had this conversation. I didn't have him in my top 10, but between the youth and the upside and the fact that we've already seen some solid offense built around him, I'm there.
I'll tell you, we are now at the point where I'm out on quarterback.
I personally think it is just a little too tough for me to take another quarterback right now. I'll hear out the argument. I'll sit at the table.
Sure.
There's a lot of guys where if teams had the opportunity, they would pay him $50 million a year. And they didn't already have a quarterback on their roster, right?
Yeah.
But I think the same is also true for Will Anderson. So at the 13th pick, I would take Will Anderson. Edge is, again, the most valuable non-quarterback position to me. Will Anderson is a true tier 1 defensive player of the year level guy. He can be the centerpiece of a pass rush, and he is very young compared to Parsons or Garrett. And I think that youth matters a lot. So I will take Will Anderson at 13th overall.
Yeah, Garrett's another guy who's 30. So you do have to take that into account. Even if edge is a position that can age gracefully, that's
the thing is that I just don't want to put too much stock into guessing how guys will age. It's just too difficult for me. Yeah. I know you feel strongly, Theo, that great athletes age well. I know Reggie White did. And it's not that I don't believe that Garrett will, but I just think it's an unknown. And I would rather you're going to be sick if he just ages normally and Anderson ages normally. It's going to be maybe 3 more years of prime Garrett versus 8 more of Will Anderson.
Right.
And it's not even going to be a debate. Whereas what's the downside to picking Anderson here? Garrett is better right now, but the gap so wide that it's not worth the risk of maybe Garrett is really good until he's 38, but he's like a Pro Bowler and not an all pro for the back 4 years of that, where it still matters.
And then what if Will Anderson plays until he's 38?
Right. It's not impossible that Anderson ends up having this great longevity.
Yeah.
I think I like that it's not quarterback here because that's exactly where I would stop picking quarterbacks. I don't know if Will Anderson would be my pick. I do think there's a gap between him and Garrett, which is not saying anything derogatory towards Will Anderson, I think, but Garrett is just maybe a GOAT level.
He's incredible.
Sure. And I think that with Will Anderson, he's really, really good. His speed to power is ridiculous. He's so rugged. He's a great run defender. He had that DPOY caliber season last year, but no one would give him a vote over Myles Garrett, I don't think. Right. So I do think that there is a tier there, but still I think with the age, you can go Will Anderson. To me, where I would think the direction I might go here if I was you would be like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, who are 26 years old. And
I think Anderson's on their tier.
I think Anderson is really good. I don't know if he's the type of asset that Justin Jefferson is. I don't.
I think
I don't know. I look at, I'm very anti-receiver here just because I'm down to take receivers in the first round, but when it's Puka, who's 24, and JSN, who's 24, and Amon-Ra, who's 26, and Chase, who's 26, and London, who's 24, it's there's so many.
Polar bear.
Who's the polar bear, Theo?
Drake London is a polar bear there. I'm sorry. I was with you last year.
I would much rather pass on Chase if you're like, oh, Drake London's a polar bear, and I can get Drake London in the second round and get, a tackle or an edge rusher or anything else. I will easily do that. Easily.
Sure.
First off, I got a couple of things to say. Chase and Jefferson are going to make the Hall of Fame, but like Will Anderson is tracking just like that right now. He really is a defensive player of the year if it wasn't for Garrett setting the sacks record, right? Part of the issue with taking Garrett in particular with this pick at 13 being the first non-quarterback, you are in the worst position of any team to get a QB, and you're in win now mode for sure. That's a concern. And I'm a little interested that the single player gap between Anderson and Garrett is more important to you when you're kind of a weak link defensive guy.
Well, you can only take one player at a time here.
Sure, you can only take one player at a time, but if this individual being so much greater is worth having this great individual for half as much time, potentially. I don't know. I would think that it would work the other way around, and that it would actually make you value having these star players on your team long term, so you have more time to build the defense around them. I think. Look, I'm not really
that part is fair, and I think that part is a good argument to take Will Anderson Jr. for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, like Justin Jefferson came into the league and started building a case of like, oh, this guy has a really good chance to catch not a really good chance, but as good of a chance as anyone we've seen to catch
he's got as greatest start as anybody's had,
right?
Basically, I agree.
Will Anderson is a really, really good player, but I don't know if he's quite as historic as Justin Jefferson is.
It doesn't matter though. How good are they right now? Is Jefferson that much better than Anderson right now? If I was drafting them at the start of their career, that would be different.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe there's not a big gap. I think that Justin Jefferson is better enough that I'm taking the age and I'm taking Justin Jefferson. But
here's what I'm interested in. You're not thinking JSN or Puka?
That's what
for receiver one?
I don't think JSN is in the tier. I don't think JSN is in the tier of Justin Jefferson.
Really?
You don't think
the best route runner with elite body control and elite hands?
I think Jefferson's a better route runner. I think Jefferson has better hands. I think Jefferson is maybe a top 10 player of all time at the position, by the time his career is done, right? And I think JSN is great and had a great season and all that, but I don't think he's trending in that direction. I think Jefferson is just a different beast. I think he's more sudden. I think he's more violent. I love the smoothness of JSN and the fact that his head doesn't rise or sink or do any of that. But there, you watch him and then you watch Justin Jefferson, and I think there's just there's more physicality. There's more sharpness. There's more suddenness.
We've been waiting to get to this. This is why we have to entertain Drake London being the greatest receiver of all time.
Size, sure, yeah, size.
Single off season.
Drake London did not have the season that he needed to keep for me to keep him in these agendas, I'd say.
But Drake London, George Pickens, T. Higgins, there are enough, Devonta Smith, there are enough good receivers who are young and capable that I would much rather have them in the second round than take Jefferson here and be without a quarterback or without I just feel like you're leaving a lot of value on the table here, Theo.
I have to say, you guys kill me when you put players that I think are really great into just the next tier up that I'm not comfortable with. So it's always some shit like Chase, Jefferson, JSN, Puka, T. Higgins, CD. It's like well, hold on. Who is T. Higgins?
No, T is not. Yeah, I could say that about Josh,
wasn't even what
but I could say
was saying.
if we're taking edge and say the supply, like what about Trayvon Walker or Josh Hines?
I'm not taking Trayvon Walker in the first round. Like
nobody.
I know, but you're saying I would wait on receiver because there's someone else I could take later. It's like, well, there's also we could get a Rich.
I think there is a bigger gap.
But here's the thing. I don't think that these guys are like check boxes to fill out, quite frankly. I think the receivers are so valuable. And the thing is that you can just very easily have multiple of them. And they're kind of like not as much of a weak link position where maybe you could argue I'm going to draft Joe Alt high, but then when he's out, or if the rest of my line sucks, I still have line issues. No, I think having a crazy explosive receiver is awesome in its own right and can change everything in its own right. And then on top of that, I don't know, like I could get another one if I wanted to. There's a reason why like the scarcity or the lack of scarcity of receivers, because I agree, there's a lot of guys who are good.
Yes.
That doesn't stop teams from paying receivers like crazy. No. In fact, in the top 32 players who are paid, it's basically, it's probably only quarterbacks, edge rushers, pass rushers, and pass catchers, if I had to guess. So personally, I have no problem taking receiver high. Theo, if you want to be higher on Chase and Jefferson than JSN and Puka, I get it. I think there's an argument for they're a couple years younger, or like JSN's like 3 years younger than Jefferson. So, and again, like I think those are legendary players, so I'm not going to bet against them. But I do think in general, receiver can age well, but you can also I know a lot of legendary receivers. Calvin Johnson, I won't say him. That's not fair. But like Julio, how much longer did Julio last past 30?
Yeah. Wide
Antonio Brown.
30, I'm definitely getting concerned.
It's nerve-wracking. But I just don't, I think you're not weighting age enough. Is Jefferson so much better that you would rather have 3 years versus 6 under 30 for JSN?
Yes.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Especially if you know that your offense is already going to be in a position where you have like no QB. You're going to be doing that essentially. Maybe that's unfair to view everything totally through that lens.
No, I see that.
You could potentially hit on somebody. And you could still hit on the 25th quarterback if you take a shot on, I don't know, like Malik Willis. It could still end up awesome or something. Or whoever.
There was a time when like Sam Darnold wouldn't like sniff this list of the top 32, right? He was a throwaway guy that Jefferson put up 1,500 yards with, 10 touchdowns with. Now, if you end up with J.J. McCarthy, who's like just a different tier of bad, obviously then something has gone very, very wrong. But I think there's still a place to manage the quarterback position well here. And I think Justin Jefferson, since he's been in the league, has been one of the most dominant athletes in North American sports. And I think his chameleon eye dominance, his route running, his speed, he's caught 97-yard touchdowns, his yak. I just think that he's a very special player. I think that he's probably the closest thing to Jerry Rice that we've like seen since Jerry Rice is like a pure route runner who's capable of putting up.
JSN had more yards last year. What about that? I don't know if I can get down with anybody really like being a tier above JSN as a route runner in particular. Like, bro, what he did last year was wild. JSN on a serious passing team breaks the receiving yards record.
Yes.
He got crushed by the passing attempts last year. He should have gone for 2K on a team that wasn't trolling and like, dude, let's run Charbonnet 3 more times.
The Lions run the football a lot, and that's their mentality. And it doesn't really hurt Amon-Ra St. Brown's production because a lot of the play action stuff helps. Where do
the Lions rank in pass attempts?
Like, I don't know, but they're not throwing the ball all over the yard. And yet still you've got like somebody who's put up 100 receptions 4 straight years. And that scheme and that heaviness in that play action, like certainly helped JSN average is much as he did per catch, I think. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on JSN. He's a very good receiver. I just think Justin Jefferson is. I think guys like Will Anderson and JSN, who are very good now, but didn't walk into the league and all like change the world immediately like Justin Jefferson did. I think I do think that says something to even the players they are today. And I think
you know
Jefferson
who didn't
is
change the world immediately when they walked into the league? Myles Garrett.
Yep. I was exactly.
Did not land first team All Pro until year 4. Granted, he got injured, but he wasn't even. He was second team All Pro year 2, and then he got banged up, and then he came back and he was first team All Pro. Whereas Micah Parsons was first team All Pro, crazy year 1.
Yep.
I'm probably taking Micah above Will Anderson too, but the ACL gets things a little.
The gap between the injury and still a couple of years of age. I don't know, man.
I think Parsons is power scaled up a level compared to Will Anderson. I do. Will is there's the top 2 edges, which is Micah and Garrett. Those 2 are the top 2, and then there's Will Anderson, and Will Anderson was healthier last year, and he was in a great defensive infrastructure, and he had a great year, and he's a great player. Like, it sucks to be picking at him, but I just think that he's not in the tier 1 of his position, and I think to be the first non-quarterback off the board and not to be in the tier 1 of your position, that is a bit tough for me to swallow. I get that he's very young and was first team All Pro and has an extremely bright future ahead of him and all that, but that's just one.
Go ahead.
I just disagree. I think this episode's hilarious that the guys that we're debating, they're all so good. Obviously, I love him. I love him so. No, I did the same thing. I love him so much. And I can't but hardly start holding my breath because I don't want to say this, but JSN is too little and he's horrible. I wouldn't want him on my team. No.
Where were we?
Okay, so 13. I'm still taking Will Anderson.
Yes, and this is pick 14 for you, Theo. You're taking Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Yeah.
All right, let me get the offensive lineman off the board here. For Chicago, I'll take Joe Alt. Even with the injury stuff, he's 23, dude, and he's already. And we were talking about trying to get him an offensive player or an offensive rookie of the year because he was already playing that well. And we're like, well, as long as he doesn't allow a single sack, we might be able to push the narrative. And then for Jacksonville, I'll take Penei Sewell. Just trying to, Matt, you brought up, I think
at 15, you're taking Jacksonville. Am I still on the right number?
15 was Joe Alt. 16 is Penei Sewell.
And you took Jefferson for Tampa. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. So Matt, you brought this up. The offensive linemen, I think there's a lot of, especially the tackles, there's a lot of scarcity. If we got through, the top 12, 13 picks and all of the quarterbacks who are gone and Will Anderson is gone, I would even be considering those tackles before any receiver as well. I think you're really putting yourself in a good position getting to high level players like that in a position where it feels like they could be the 2 best at the position for the foreseeable future for the next decade or so.
So this is a little bit higher than I had the tackles on my board.
Sure.
I don't think this is crazy. I mean, Alt, I don't think has proven himself to be like true. I don't know. Alt's pretty dang good. The thing about Alt is that I don't think there's any tackle who's as good as him, as young as him. So him being tackle 1, I don't really have an issue with. And again, with the aging stuff, if I told you right now that Alt was good in a decade, would you be surprised? Frankly, I would be. I'd kind of be surprised if it was the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If it wouldn't be unbelievable to get 13 more really great years out of Alt. Honestly, like with a special guy, but you never know how the injuries will play out. So I don't want to say like it's definite. I haven't looked into how likely it is that a guy gets banged up and that screws up their career. But like, all things
Williams
go
has
right,
had
Alt
injuries
forever.
and he's still been an elite guy for a long time.
I mean,
Sure,
Jason
sure.
Peters was
Yeah,
I think good when he was old, if I remember that.
He was like trying to match LeBron for a minute, man. He's
Yeah, he was out there on the Seahawks
Exactly.
practice squad, like 41 years old, something like that.
ridiculous.
Obviously, Whitworth played and was a contributor for the Super Bowl team when they're really old. So that's why I like the tackles pick here. I think I don't. It wouldn't be my next pick, but I don't dislike it at all because of just how long you're getting a great player. So you're going tackles. It's back to me. I'm going to go with Micah Parsons here.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Micah Parsons. For who? The Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the ACL, it's a pit in my stomach that I feel every single day, right? Like, please, 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 God, let him come back the same. But if he is able to do so, and it's not the most unthinkable thing in the world, stars tear their ACL every year. They come back. They continue to be pretty good. It's happened before. It will happen again. With Parsons, man, no one has as much strain. No one has as much play speed, I think. No one has as much endurance, like late into the rep, to be flying around like he does. It's just constant velocity all the time, always. He's stout. He's a good run defender. He and Garrett disrupt the backfield in a length of time that nobody else really matches outside of there's maybe one other guy who does, but I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give you guys any ideas because I might pick him later. But yeah, the speed at which he's able to disrupt things and the amount of effort that he gives and the run defender that he is, I think he's in Garrett's tier. I know I think that he's in Garrett's tier and he's a little bit younger. So I'm going with Micah Parsons despite the ACL. It is scary. I get it, but how old is he? 27?
He's 27. Garrett's 30. I could see the ACL offsetting the age difference a little bit, but I would still go Parsons here because I am with you on the ACL isn't as detrimental of like a long-term injury. I feel like it is something that people come back from and have plenty of success. It's not something that, like, if it's something that ended up nagging him or that he's had another ACL tear before, which I don't think he has. I could be misremembering, but I don't think he's had another one before. That would concern me more, but the singular is not as big of a deal to me.
I mean, Nick Bosa's torn it multiple times. He tore it in college. He came back. He got a depoy, right? Like it's possible to go out and do. It is scary though. I mean, edges don't have the same longevity as tackles. I think once you get to like 32, maybe, that's when I start to get kind of concerned. Like historically, like age 32, after that, you're kind of in outlier territory. And maybe that turns into more age 31 or 30 or something like that when you have an ACL. But Parsons has just been so good and was so dominant from the jump, kind of like Justin Jefferson. And he'll be a Hall of Famer. So we're
when we started this podcast, what did I have you guys promise? We wouldn't
today
keep
or
secrets.
like at the very beginning.
I meant at the very beginning, and I meant we promised that we wouldn't keep secrets. Who is the pass rusher that you were thinking of? I will not make another pick. I will not eat, and I might start holding my breath because I am trying to think of this right now. Is it like Jeffrey Simmons or something? I was looking at this. I was building my board. I'm like, Theo's picking Jeffrey Simmons at 8, and we're gonna have to like fight on the pot.
I don't think he would take Jeffrey
Who is
Simmons.
the other edge rusher?
The one who can get in so quickly, disrupt the play so quickly, it's Benito. Nick Benito has that skill.
Yeah, that's. Who
I was thinking you might say
it was.
Carter. That would be the other guy.
Benito has crazy speed, but it may not even be like Myles Garrett and Garrett.
Benito would go incredibly high. I don't know if he's going to quite make it to the first round because he would have to be among the very, very top non-quarterbacks for my big board personally. Ooh, I don't know. He might.
We'll see. We'll see about Benito, but Benito does rank high.
I like the idea of being high on him. I'll put it like that, and then I won't.
Benito ranks high. I think Verse might also rank pretty high.
First, I'm not. I didn't.
Verse, he's kind of a one.
Verse might not be a round 2 pick for me. I might not have a round 2 grade on
Whoa,
Verse.
that'd be a hot take.
He's solid. He's solid, but I think. Well, maybe I would. He's very young. He's very young. I'm trying to think.
He's really
he's
young.
Not a
I
top
think I would.
60. I don't think he's a top 64 player in the league. Let's put it that way. But then when I think about age and all that,
position,
then maybe he is.
Well, here's my question: Would you take? Would you rather have Verse or Hutch?
I'd rather have, I think, Hutch than Verse.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the age difference there? I guess I should.
Aiden Hutchinson
Hutch also ACL, right? Bad.
Yeah, that's true.
really bad knee. But he should be okay. They're like Verse and Hutch are about the same age. Hutch is like a month old.
Yeah, I'd go Hutch. So that brings it to me. What do my teams be, Kirk?
Cowboys, Colts.
Colts, and what are the
Cowboys at 18.
Cowboys at 18, Colts at 19.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
It's actually the Jets for both of these because they traded their first.
It's actually the Jets.
Sorry, bro.
But
Jets cooked.
Well, in this situation, the Packers picked higher, I'm afraid, so we're going to have to rip your first round pick away, Mr. Ash.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I don't know. I'm really struggling. Look, I just value age too dang much to take Garrett this high. I'm sorry.
I think that's fair.
This is at age 31 season. He is the GOAT. But
he is.
From a team perspective,
yeah,
man, it would just be tough. If he's going to turn 31 and you say at 32 you get nervous, I don't really doubt that Garrett's probably going to beat regular longevity. He's crazy. And it still feels like he's getting, I don't know. It still feels like he's just coming off the best season he ever had at 30. Right. So it is what it is. But I'm going to go JSN. Even though I do think that edge rusher is a more valuable position, I'm just going to go JSN because there's like a 6 or 7 year age gap. Something like, God, I was looking at NBA stuff today. Series go 6 or 7 games. God, you can't talk about any of that.
Escape it. And you know what? We used to get a lot of comments that would point out every time we said 6-7
until we had Manny start deleting them. I know, man.
All of our 6-7s got turned into 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah, you do go 5 or 6 a lot. It's crazy how many times you say that where it's unnatural.
What is it doesn't about roll off the tongue the same way? Like that's why 6-7 got big. Is like 6-7 is like a good thing to say. Like 5-6, it's not the same.
There's almost like an alphabet type effect with even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right?
Yeah, like elemental.
It's like elemental.
Yeah. You don't. It's not nearly as strong, but it's slight.
It flows and it's such a median distance. Like not a lot of things are in between 1 and 10. It's like a 6.
Yes. Well, and it's like it's how it's like someone says rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, but you can't say 7 because it's like the most like above average thing you can say,
No 7. Yeah, I like that. No 6 or 7. No 6 or 7, because then everyone would just go 6.
Yeah,
rate yourself 1 to 10.
Well,
but no
everyone
6
goes 8. Everyone goes 8 when you do that. So
rate yourself on 1 to 10, but you can't go 5 through 8.
You can't go 5 through 8. Yes. But Matt, you're taking the Emerald City route artist for the.
I'm taking the Emerald City route artist, and I'm gonna be real with you, man. Here at 19 for the Colts. Tell me if this is wrong, and we'll throw out this evaluation entirely if we should exclude this. Dude, if I had a first round pick, I would not take Puka because I think he's kind of crazy.
I agree. Yes, he's right there. Yeah.
Clearly there's some like weirdo locker room stuff going on. He's like posting anti-Semitic shit from the locker room and then deleting it, and McVay's walking around all mad. He's had injury issues and he's been like, I want to retire at 30 before. I remember like that. And like maybe that doesn't end up being the case for him, and I'm reading too much into that. But when the other option is like, you could just take like Jamar Chase or something like that and just chill. And what's the age gap? Like 2 years? Is that worthy of taking into account? And I don't know. Jamar is, I don't know. Puka's really, really, really good. You talk about guys who are off to a special start for their career outside of the injury stuff. I mean,
he's the all-time yards per game record holder as it stands right now.
Dang. That is one of those stats that favors modern guys a ridiculous amount.
Oh yeah. I mean, Chase has held that. Jefferson has held that. Nakua has now held that. Like, these modern receivers, they do get these when they're young, like they're off to such great starts, I guess. So that doesn't mean, but it doesn't mean Nakua is bad. That's for sure. When you're the all-time yards per game record, it doesn't mean you're bad.
I guess I'll go Chase here. Is that crazy?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, I'm just lower on the receivers in general, but I think this is probably where I would start taking them, is once you get into the 20-ish range.
I really, dude, I wouldn't care at all about that. I can't lie. I would just,
when we snake around and do rounds 2, 3, 4, and I come out of here with Drake London, and then I get like, I don't even know who else I'm going to
Justin Jefferson is exponentially better. He's exponentially better. It goes like
when I take George Pickens.
Yeah, but think about this. Like,
sure.
First off, not only like you basically have to take a receiver in round 2 then to still get an elite one, right?
Yeah.
But second off, I can think of offenses that had a great quarterback and had a great receiver 1. And they didn't have the receiver 2. They didn't have the other passing option. And it's like it took a second guy going in there. I think about the Cowboys. Are the Cowboys saying like, we don't like Pickens, kind of no big deal because we already have a receiver? Hell no. And how good was Pickens last year? How good is that duo? It's crazy. So
it is.
I think having two stud receivers.
I'm gonna get 2 receivers. Don't you worry. It's just
but you're getting worse receivers. There's a lot of good receivers, but there's a lot to gain in having 2 guys who maybe you think are top 10 players, even, which I think you could say about a couple of teams.
Yeah, I mean, if you came out of this with like Chase and Higgins again, right, you're gonna feel pretty good. Or if you come out of this with CD and Pickens, or because
any old wide receiver will do. Any old wide receiver will be good, and then you take Matthew Golden, and shit's not funny. You got sold
not
a
any
lemon.
old wide receiver.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's true. It's like for as many great receivers as there are, there's still so many teams that need a receiver every year.
Yeah, well, that's because a lot of teams suck at drafting receivers. I'm sorry.
it's because you need a lot. And look, and then you end up saying shit like, we got a lot of wide receiver 2s. Well, we don't have any wide receiver 1s, but we're loaded with 2s.
Oh, bro,
you can get Dobbs so late, bro. You can get Romeo Dobbs in the 100th round.
I don't think that you can. I think judging by how these guys are paid, I think that they would be taken pretty highly. I mean, Dobbs and Devin Lloyd both hit the open market at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he got paid more, man. Alec Pierce got $30 million. There's not a off-ball linebacker in the NFL who's got that type of money right now. And we can sit here and disagree, but I think if we're talking about how the draft would fall in real life or whatever, no, man, I think receivers would be going crazy.
Well, I won't be. I won't be taking.
Look what Tyreek did for Tua. Look what AJ did for Hurts. Look at like these. Those are the types of examples that get people really mouth-watering for some people, because like we're sitting here, we're taking all these non-quarterbacks. Like, yeah, we can wrap around and get a Jalen Hurts maybe now. Maybe we can wrap around and get a Fernando Mendoza and pair him with. Well, we'll see what happens, because there's still a lot of draft to go.
Well, I'll say this: if you leave the first 2 rounds and you don't get a quarterback or a pass catcher, how are you going to make that work, man? It's be really, really, really tough. Unless you're like trying to take. Tough. Unless you're trying to do like, who we haven't talked about today yet.
The 2005 Bears?
That's part of it for sure. I was going to say Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes.
I don't know what to do with him at all. I still think he's a really good player. And
we'll
see what happens at the end of the first round.
We'll see what happens at the end of the first round here. I completely agree.
You taking Chase, so Dallas, what order did this go in?
Vikings are next here at 20.
But Matt, you took
I took JSN at 18 for the Cowboys.
Oh, what is he now? What's Dallas's nickname?
It's the
Ooh.
what is Dallas? What is the Dallas?
He's
the Big D. The Big D route artist. The Big D route artist. That's getting worse.
That would be the way to do it if JSN ever gets traded, is to not, like, people are going to go into it and they're going to be thinking, like, we got to change both sides. No, you don't. You just change the City route. Okay, he's the Music City route. Yeah. Really, you know.
Yeah, the Big D route artist.
The Big D. Okay. Who are you taking?
Jerry's route artist.
Jerry's route artist.
I'm glad you took Jamar Chase because that makes my decision easy. I'm taking Kyle Hamilton, and I'm stealing him from Beaker.
No.
Yeah, I know it was.
Was it?
And I this really felt great for me because I knew Matt wouldn't take Kyle Hamilton, and I knew Blaiden would, so I could. Who did I go with last time? Jefferson. I know I could take Jefferson without thinking about Hamilton now, and then you eliminate the other guys I would take. Now it swings back to me. I get Kyle Hamilton before Blaiden picks here. Kyle Hamilton has had a lot. I know safety value, Matt's gonna shake his head and stuff, but I've been playing with the Ray Carp on off splits over the last, and I was looking at Kyle Hamilton over the last couple of years. Cumulatively, over the last 4 seasons, when Kyle Hamilton is on the field, the Ravens defense has negative 188.67 EPA. Cumulatively, when he's off the field, they're at positive 52.44.
Holy shit.
Could it be right? I mean, that's a difference of what, 240 points, something like that over 4 years. Could it actually be true that he's worth 60 points a season? And the sample size, I did this right before the episode, wrote these numbers down, and I didn't write the sample size down, but it's like a couple hundred of snaps that he's off over the course of these 4 years. So it's a long time. And that is an insane gap. That's all I'll say. That is an insane gap of they're always a defense that's above average when he's on the field, and they're a defense that's below average when he's off the field. We can at least say that. I think there is something to be said for his versatility, and you can put him where you're weak, and he just can do everything. He can he can stack and shed a tackle. He can cover. He can tackle in the open field.
He can be your call guy in the like he can literally do everything.
He could be your linebacker. He could be your free safety. He could be your nickel. He could be your outside linebacker. He can do it all. He's an edge rusher. He gets tons of pressure. He is a true unicorn, Swiss Army knife. And I think when I look at even the physical numbers, they dictate that, like, those numbers are what I'd expect to see from an MVP quarterback, and they're there with Kyle Hamilton. Like, maybe there's some nonsense attributed to that in the small sample size, but damn, it's pretty crazy the level that he can elevate it appears that he elevates the Ravens defense, and I think just really genuinely does, because when like it does every year, there's some big problem with the Ravens, and they're like, well, just stick Kyle Hamilton there and it'll go away, and that legitimately doesn't happen.
And it works every time because he's the GOAT, man.
So I'm going with him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think there's nothing to be said for his versatility. As apparently the Kyle Hamilton hater of the podcast, but to be fair, like.
And he's 25.
He's 25.
He is 25. That I'll give you. You guys are the lunatics, though, not me. It's not that I'm the crazy one. I don't think that this is that wild. I guess I would wonder how long you feel like he could be good and defensive back stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really think it's that crazy to take Hamilton here. But I don't know.
I'm kind of giving you shit. I know that this is not really. I'm not taking him. Blaiden, I could have sent that shit in first overall. I don't know.
Hey, man.
And that's not what happened.
That's true. I was wondering. I was relieved when Blaiden was talking about, like, it's gonna be 12 or so quarterbacks at first. I'm like, okay. I didn't know how much we were gonna.
It's 0.
I didn't know how much we were gonna troll with this episode with the positional values.
I am never trolling with positional value. I need you.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Him to?
Vikings.
I gave him to the Vikings. So we get
Vikings.
Cam Ward, they get Kyle Hamilton. Sick.
Yeah, I don't trust the on-off numbers though. 200 snaps is like an incredibly low sample size, quite frankly.
Yeah. But every year it's such major discrepancies, and the fact that it could be so noisy and it's so clear with Kyle Hamilton, like
sure, but is that true? Wouldn't that just like kind of end up being true if there was noise for some star players?
yes. I mean, I need to do more. The Raycarb on-offs, they're cool, but I do urge caution with them because, like, if you look at Max Crosby's on-off numbers, like, I think they were better with him off the field last year, something like that. And like, there's just no way that's true. It's not good for the NFL. But I think what makes it nice for Hamilton and why I used it as an example here is cumulatively over the 4 years, it's such a big gap that I'm like, okay, maybe this starts to hold some weight. But like, using
I believe
it for Burrow,
general
Flacco
finding that Kyle Hamilton is good. Yes. I would largely agree with. I think in the NFL, on-off numbers struggle from the fact that big plays can account for huge swings in EPA, whereas in basketball, like obviously points as a whole are scored more in lower, well, not like actual lower point quantities like that, you know what I mean? But like overall, and the sample size is really low. And then there's a lot of other moving factors because there's just more players and there's fewer games. Like you can have guys kind of just have like fluky seasons sometimes. You want to talk about a couple hundred snaps. I mean, you stood strong.
A fumbled snap that has nothing to do with anything, like could ruin on off in the wrong situation for EPA, right? Because one of your 50 plays that you're off for some of these guys is like, or one of even 100 is like this massive -10 EPA play that in the NBA would be equivalent to someone putting in 10 threes all at once, is just happened to happen on one of the few snaps where you're on the field or off the field if you're a role player, a star, or a depth piece, or whatever it is. So on off for NFL, it's very sketchy, but for Kyle Hamilton, it is pretty crazy, the discrepancy, and there is something to be said for him. I think it's not completely.
I had him in my first round, so I'm
very glad.
Just one big happy family here on stage. Just love each other.
Love each other, man. Who's up? I've got the Commanders and the Giants here at 21 and 22. This is where I'm going to take Myles Garrett. I do think we've given enough grace to he's entering his year 31 season. He's coming off the greatest pass rushing season of all time. I think there's a case to be made that he's not just the best defensive player, but the best player in football straight up. I think getting him at 21 is pretty fair. Not enough.
I agree. I think this is right around where I had him personally. I do think there's a level of just like if you have Garrett, your defense will be able to do so-and-so. And I mean, in a dream world, he gets paired with like Stafford falling or something like that, or like maybe even like a Goff falling or something like that for age. I don't know, who are other old quarterbacks that could fall. I mean, outside of like way old guys who are also going to fall because they're not that good. Really, there's not that many. But I think in general, like there would be a team that says, screw it, let's do it pretty quickly. And I wouldn't totally disagree with them.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, someone has Patrick Mahomes, someone has Josh Allen. Like, what are you're behind the 8 ball in that way. Like, I would rather throw Myles Garrett at that problem than Brock Purdy. Like, I just would. So yeah,
absolutely.
I like the pick. Yeah. This is also where I had him.
And here with the Giants is where I'm starting to think about another quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So are we just dropping Puka out of the first round entirely then? I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, there's still a lot.
There's still a lot of
my fault.
There's still a lot of picks left, but like, Theo, that's a good point. You mentioned Brock Purdy is here, who we've let slide. Bo Nix we've let slide. Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff. Those are probably the big guys that would be
And
next
Stafford,
up.
who is like in his
Stafford.
own freaky little category.
I mean, we can decide if we're gonna put him in the first round or not. But he's what, 38 right now, gonna be 39. Like, it's scary, dude. Like, at what point
They're doing like this weird like year by year thing, and he's had injury issues, but he also won the MVP last year, but it was also in a very nice situation. And you wonder, like, with the mobility, if you don't build that offensive lineup, or it's like it's not as favorable of an offense in general, like, is that whole thing gonna just fall apart instantly?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
really
personally,
pick Stafford.
I'll be real with you. Personally, if it was me, I don't think it's crazy to pick him in the first round, but like there's literally no way it would be me. And I'd be rolling the dice on that, to be honest with you, right? In the first.
Yeah.
That would be more like a swing around at the top of the second type of move, I think.
Man, are the Rams really winning the Super Bowl if they have no players in the first round? It's possible.
No players in the first round. Well, here's the issue.
They were the first pick because Tankathon has them as the projected.
No, because here's the thing. I have Puka in the first round, and I'll make sure that he doesn't fall out entirely because he's just too good. I'm at 15 on my big board. I just decided while we were recording this that maybe I would be a little bit more nervous, right? Stafford also, if we were playing for next year, would very, very easily go in the first round. It is entirely because of how old he is, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. It's just kind of a long time for a Ram not to go when they're like the super team of today. They're not.
Yeah, well, they are, and then like they're half the draft is quarterbacks, and their quarterback has like this specific thing that makes them fall.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true.
So like honestly, the guy that I'm most thinking about here is Hurts. Like, I think Hurts has kind of gotten a rough rap as of late because it's like, oh well, AJ Brown wants out and they can't throw over the middle and it's all his fault. But like,
and he has no passing yards this half.
He has no passing yards, but it's like, nonsense.
But that is okay. Stop. I think Hurts is of the tier that we're talking about right now for sure. No. I don't disagree with you on that at all.
But so it's
you just kill me when you.
Well, here's the thing: is like Hurts is an accurate passer. He's got an accurate deep ball. He's a very powerful runner. He's got pretty decent foot speed, Theo, that you bring up a lot. So like there's a lot to like about Hurts. And so for me, it comes down to him, and Gonzo is the first corner that I would be considering off the board. 23 years old and one of the stickiest man coverage corners in the league. You're shaking your head.
I can't do the corner.
You can't do corner?
No. Not over Bowers.
Bowers is interesting. Bowers is interesting.
The gap in how those two positions age is just too wide. Gonzo is such a baller. And I think he's one of those guys where it's like I did my list and then I started adding in the quarterbacks to try to get to the number. So he's like right on the border of first round for me. I think I still have. We could get to 17 or 18 quarterbacks before Gonzo would fall out of the first.
Okay.
But over a guy like Bowers, who's a pass catcher, who, I think is shown to be very top end at his position the same way that Gonzo has. I don't know. I just think the gap. Tight ends can be really good at 34.
They can be really good.
Just for corners, it's so long shot.
Yeah. I'm going to go Jalen
What are you going to do?
I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I knew I was going to have this kind of like coin toss of where I was going to go with these guys.
Jalen Hurts for the Giants. They're going to kill you, dog.
Bro,
they're going to kill you.
He's literally better. He's the better version. Everyone compared Jackson Dart to Jalen Hurts. He's just the better version of what they have right now.
And Christian Gonzalez is better than Deontay Banks.
That's also true.
I think Hurts is a little overhated right now. I think
but it's also a cycle, right? Because when he won the Super Bowl, he became overrated a little bit.
Sure. And then there was kind of a snapback. I think, you can build in the option game around him, and you got to take into account, which can be a boon for your running game. He is accurate downfield. like we said in the quarterback episodes, he gets through his reads. I actually like him standing in the pocket and getting through reads. He just got to throw it. Like, sometimes I'm like, he got through all 5 reads, but like, and it wasn't bad when he threw over the middle. Like, it's not like, oh, it's negative 100 million EPA when he's there.
It just feels like he doesn't.
But it just didn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very much. I think Hurts is a little too limited to take here, but it's not crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't know. It's so difficult because, I mean, this is a guy who balled out in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Not to take it all like, this guy's had big time games in the big bowl, and I think his top traits are incredibly valuable.
Yeah,
but I agree. Like, you know, I was gonna say like all of these guys are kind of limited. Like Purdy is sort of this gamer, but he's not like a crazy athlete, and like he doesn't take sacks, but he turns the ball over a decent amount. Or like Goff, obviously, it's like, okay, well, here's a guy who's really a game manager, but like his creation and ability to deal with pressure is like really limited. And you know, Bo Nix is like this athlete, but he's coming off an injury, and you know, over the middle, he isn't very consistent at all. And I mean, I think his like rate of passing over the middle compared to like it's just attempts is like incredibly low, right?
Yeah, he doesn't really try intermediate stuff.
He doesn't even really like.
Now, maybe that's an offense thing, but it's
right.
That's true. But like, I think easily the biggest concern is Hurts letting it rip versus zone. He just doesn't do it, and it just like kind of nukes the offense. And itself. And I think it can be better. I'm not like out on Hurts forever long term, but there is some balance between like, not everything is Hurts' fault all the time. You know, Patullo is Patullo, but dude, it's a big issue.
Yeah, there are big issues, and he won the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl, but like so did Saquon Barkley, and so did Zach Bond, and so did Jalen Carter. He did it
on like a very perfect offense. And I question like who is going to be the best on an offense that is maybe more like middle of the pack. But you know what? A lot of these guys I could say that for, right? Goff, Purdy. Nix isn't on a perfect offense or anything as receivers or whatever, but Nix has been on like, you know, he's behind a good offensive line. Right.
Yeah.
And how good was the Broncos passing offense anyway last year? You know, a lot of these guys are either going to be in very good situations where they then can have really good results, or they're going to be in mid situations where they're gonna have mid results. They're not game manager, like gives the idea of Goff, which isn't the case for all of these guys necessarily, but I don't know.
All of these rosters will end up being even because it's a fantasy draft, and they'll end up being even. So no one is going to get this benefit of this stacked situation versus a bottom feeder situation because some things will go
win
wrong.
The draft and do well.
Yeah, some people will draft Cam Ward for the Packers, and they just won't be as good as the team that got Mahomes, most likely. You know,
they'll be better.
They'll be better, maybe. But if the situations are going to end up more equal than the actual league, then you really don't want the quarterback who is carried, right? You want the quarterback who's making some shit happen.
Okay, well, what teams are winning with the bad quarterback? It's the stacked teams. It's the Broncos.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and by this logic, you won't also be that team. Again, the issue with this draft is that it's way too big of an advantage to have the top picks, like to a ridiculous degree. Even a third round reversal doesn't even come close to making up for it. Actually, it should be like third and fourth and fifth and so on, probably.
Sure.
I'm saying that's the problem, but I just disagree with that philosophy. Like, yes, I understand what you're saying, but then you'll have the same problem if you're like trying to build up some crazy defense around Will Anderson or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think about that AFC graphic about every single AFC championship game that is like Roethlisberger, Manning, and Brady, right? If you want to get a quarterback, or I don't even know, how do you break into that? Because like,
you could also think about the graphic where the championship games were Brady, Bortles, Foles, and Keenum.
Yeah, I feel like that's how you break into that, is like not by drafting a quarterback better than Tom Brady or better than Peyton Manning or whatever, but by building like a better team than the Patriots or whatever, or building a better defense than them or something. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't go with Hurts for the Giants at the end of the day. I don't think he's a complete disaster. I don't think he's obviously not fatally flawed because he has a Super Bowl. So like you can do it.
Mhm.
You can,
But
do it.
I wouldn't do it for the Giants, and I wouldn't do it especially for the
Well-
Giants because the Giants fans would have my head if Jalen Hurts was their first pick.
Well, luckily, the
Mhm.
Giants fans can't have my head because that is illegal. But you have the next pick for the Steelers, Theo.
Yeah, you were mentioning Blaiden. Christian Gonzalez, I think you skipped a rung on the cornerback ladder. I'm going with Patrick Surtain.
And that's
Here.
fair. Gonzo's 23, dude.
Yeah,
Not
I just
worried about the age here at all, Mr.
not
Ash.
really, not really. I
don't
think
get.
I haven't looked into corner
How
as
old is
much.
Surtain?
He's
He's
26.
gonna be like 20. He's got to be.
He's 26.
Is
He's
he
going into his
the age
26.
27s?
No, he's going into his age 26
Old.
season.
He's 26.
That's not
Wait,
old.
But he's 27 any day.
Charles
Might as
Woodson
well be 30.
Charles Woodson was first team All Pro when he was 35 for the Packers. Like,
Let's use the outliers who. This Derrick Henry take. Lucky shot from a bum that's now gonna be.
I was at home last week, and my parents have two dogs. They have
Mhm.
Pepper and they have Franny. Franny is 1 and Pepper is 10. Pepper's not washed, man. Pepper will always have it over Franny. The reaction time, the ball tracking, like she is dominant. She's so twitchy. She's still twitchy. She's still got it. And I was looking at
Hey, guess
Pepper. I'm
what?
like,
I've
if
also
you're
got two dogs. I've also got two dogs, Theo, Butter, and Biscuit. Biscuit is fucking washed, brother.
It's
How
real
old is
sad when the
Biscuit?
dog becomes washed.
Biscuit's got to be like 11, maybe 12.
did Biscuit ever have it?
Biscuit had it
kind of
when
dog?
he was he's a beagle mix of some sort. He had it when he probably lost it around 6 or 7.
What is it? Like, if you threw this dog a ball, was he ever a talented, like,
Yeah, like he
Fetch, you
can,
know,
When you
could-
see it, man.
you know, he had the twitch, he had the leap, he had the bound. And Butter still has that. Now Butter's a little aloof. He gets distracted easily, but he's got the physicality. He'll still jump on your leg and try and jump up to your chest and lick you on the neck. Biscuit doesn't have that. He's laying down.
yeah. I mean, Patrick Peterson was so good, and he made his last Pro Bowl at age 28, right? And then it was a bit of a downturn, right? So that's scary.
And
But-
Pro Bowl is already giving dudes who are
That's what I was about to say,
longtime
Pro
legends
Bowl
ultimate
is-
grace.
Yeah, right. So he was really
giving-
washed when he was 26, when he made when he wasn't first team All.
Right.
Yeah, I just worry too much with a guy like that the lifespan is way too short. Again, like, could he be an outlier? He's a legend. He's a true, like, legendary player at his position, right? Who has achieved unbelievable things. But I mean, God, how many years did Gilmore have after his Defensive Player of the Year? Not that many.
No.
Yeah, right.
So it's just tough. It's just tough.
Yeah.
But Gilmore won DPOY at age 29,
That's true.
Sure.
That's true.
and
I don't care, I guess.
and Surtain is age 26. Like, look, this is I think he's the best
Going on
cornerback in the league. I think he is
I
a
agree.
true man eraser. He's somebody that lets the Broncos heat guys up and play with loaded boxes and play so much man because that Surtain is an island. And that's why they're the best pass rush team in the NFL. I think it has a lot to do with Patrick Surtain. He's 26. He's a deep boy. I think he's at just a little bit of a different level. And I do. You gave this take a few weeks ago, Blaiden, and I agree that, like, there's some exponential growth with the goodness of, like, at these high levels, just a little bit of distance can actually kind of bring you kind of a long way. And with Surtain, like, Gonzo is really, really good. I think Stingley is really, really good. Sauce is really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that they're as well-rounded, any of them, as Surtain is. And I don't think that they've had the quietness. I mean, just the pure lockdown island career. Maybe Sauce, but I think I'm going with Surtain here. And if the wheels come off at age 31, that's still 5 years here. And
that's not like an ungenerous time frame here.
You're
I don't know. I'm not
you're
really,
traumatized
again,
by Josh Norman, and I'm given confidence by Charles Woodson.
That's not even who I'm traumatized, dude.
Right.
Who traumatized?
Luke retiring at fucking 29.
He's not a corner.
And then I don't care.
How many concussions also has Patrick Surtain had? Not.
We have no clue. We're not at the practices, and we'll
never know.
No, you know what? I'm just so sick that Luke retired at 29 and he didn't get first ballot. And Bobby Wagner, who was like the guy you would have to go and argue against, farmed like a million. Well, I had 126 tackles, all pros, and he's gonna be first team, or he's gonna be first ballot because of that.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean,
I'm sorry, Seahawks fans. I know
it doesn't suck. It's cool for him, but like,
he really got second team All Pro last year.
It is cool for him. I'm salty about him the same way that I'm kind of a little salty at Andrew Luck at all times, because he got like ultimate grace for the injury shit, and people are like, bad team, bad offensive line, kind of ended his career quick. Where with Cam, it was like, he went out there and played with the bum shoulder. Well, people are like, this is always who he was, and I'm always a little salty, but it's not Luck's fault. The problem was that Cam played long after he was bad. Yes. The problem is that
had he retired earlier, like Luck did, I think he would be remembered much more favorably if he had just called the second that TJ Watt, if he had never played another snap, especially with how that year was. Well, we've had this conversation too many times. We have. Matt, you've got back-to-back picks here. Falcons at 24, Panthers at 25.
Oof,
your great love and your biggest enemy.
Falcons at 24. I'll go Puka at this point. Let me just knock that out. He's great, amazing, like very well rounded, can block.
Falcon to the ass.
Contested catch, route runner. Cooked the Panthers last year. So give him grace.
Yes.
All right. Probably going to go ahead and do a quarterback, even though I think that Bowers is like kind of the next guy up, is like, obviously he's a first rounder to me because of his youth and because of how good he is. But we got to start knocking out some quarterbacks, I would say. Do you think Mendoza has any chance of being a first rounder?
I think very much.
I don't think so.
I do.
I would say he probably would be.
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't think he was regarded as that kind of prospect.
I don't think he was regarded by that kind of prospect.
The Rams
I don't think he was
Simpson.
regarded as that kind of prospect by us. But
no, I don't think he was regarded. The Rams had Ty Simpson 2 tiers ahead of Mendoza on their.
Yeah, that's wrong. But
that's wrong. But that was a team's opinion.
Maybe.
I heard.
But that's one.
Maybe that's not
team.
true.
That's one team.
That's one team
opinion.
But I don't think across the, like, if Mendoza was in this draft with, if Mendoza was in the draft with Caleb Williams and Drake May and Bo Nix and Michael Penix, like, where does he go? Like,
sure,
I don't think he goes that high.
But if you're taking him now versus Penix, you're easily taking Mendoza.
What about him versus Stroud?
I think that
or him versus
first off, I think rookie Stroud would easily go in the first round.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
I think before we saw him, right. Well, you're comparing him to guys who we know are bad and who we won't take because they're bad. Well, Stroud is obviously
bad, or is he?
Well, that's not what I'm. That's not what I'm saying. I think you know what you're doing.
I think.
Would he have gone over Jamarcus Russell? Probably not. But Jamarcus Russell probably would have gone in the first round when he was drafted.
Well, all we know about Mendoza is the type of prospect that he was, and it's not like Mendoza is coming in here as like, it's someone with a generational label.
No, but he kind of gets comped to Goff a lot, and I think
who's still on the board.
Who's still on the board, and I think it's not unreasonable with the age to take Mendoza over Goff.
Yeah, exactly. If you told me it would no. If you had Goff for his whole career, he would go in the first round. That's not even a question.
Yes.
You're too anti-quarterback. You're just too anti-quarterback. You got to have a QB.
You do.
Goff? What is Goff won? Goff was terrible.
What is Herbert won?
Yeah, I guess. But that's the thing is like, well, you got to have a QB. I understand. Like, obviously, you have to draft a quarterback. But here at the spot that Carolina is picking, I mean, still some of the best defenders and offensive players in the league are on the board. Sure. And you're going and like, yeah, you need a quarterback, but do you need him right now? That's all I'm saying.
Well, not if everybody in the draft comes to an agreement that we're just not going to take quarterbacks like that.
Right.
But in real life, like, the answer would probably be yes. It would be yes, you do. It would be yes, or you're going to get Daniel Jones, is what it would be.
Daniel Jones had a good year.
He had a good year, and then he broke his leg and tore his Achilles. He broke one leg and tore his other Achilles.
Sure, but guys off the trash heap can step in, and if your team is good enough and if your scheme is good enough, they can win you games. That's been the lesson of the last couple of years. It happened with Daniel Jones.
You're ending up
until it didn't.
You're ending up with.
You can take whoever you want. You can take if you want to take.
You're getting Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, big dog.
Yep.
And it's perfect timing, man. It's me and him.
Okay.
when he gets to throw to Justin Jefferson and has Quinn Miners and Creed Humphrey blocking for him instead of Pablo Escobar and Jokic Joestar, like maybe it's a different story for Shedeur.
I would kill to see Pablo Escobar and Joestar out there
running
routes. That's what I'm saying.
Hell yeah.
Look, I think this is classic holding quarterbacks to a standard that you don't hold any other position to.
Yes.
Like you'll be like, well, what has Jared Goff won, right? Or it's like, well, how good are you if you just have Jared Goff? But you don't ask that question about Brock Bowers. Why would you, right? That's not how it works.
Yeah. Right.
Quarterbacks are significantly more valuable than non-quarterbacks, but not to the level in which like they just make the team win by themselves.
Well, you just quarterbacks are more important, but quarterbacks impact the game more. They impact the game more. Mm-hmm. So if you have a really good quarterback, they're pulsating and sending their value out more because they're touching it every snap, but they're holding it more than anybody else. They have more time with the ball to do things. But if you got some midder playing quarterback, like those mid particles are emitting and they're infecting your team with mid. And that's what I'm concerned about. In a playoff scenario is like, yeah, you got somebody there. But the mid particles.
The Seahawks just won the Super Bowl with the mid guy.
Exactly. And they waited. They
yes, but you're not.
They paid him $40 million. They paid him. He's the highest paid player on the team.
Theo, you're not getting Darnold if like in round 4. He's not going to be there.
Darnold is a bargain. Darnold is the equivalent of waiting to round 2.
And he's still the highest paid. He's still higher paid than almost every non-quarterback we've talked about today.
Theo, in a real draft, Darnold would have already been off the board.
I agree. It is already too anti-quarterback based.
They win the Super Bowl because they have Darnold. They also win the Super Bowl because they get Clint.
I'm not
have JSN and they draft.
I'm not disagreeing with you there, but like teams are gonna be like, dude, we need quarterbacks that win, and they're gonna take Darnold.
And so they get Sam Darnold.
They're gonna take Darnold. They're gonna take Hurts.
Before this year.
Yes,
he had. He was a big game. The Vikings flop and a fluke.
He won 14 games twice, and how many quarterbacks have won 14 games multiple times?
No. The Vikings have a great roster, so the quarterback.
So best quarterback in the league.
Here's what you do: you take the trash heap quarterback, right? It didn't work for the Vikings. They needed Darnold this year. They got crushed for not having Darnold.
Yeah,
they did. You can't have JJ McCarthy, but like for Darnold, he's been everything. I mean, he's been the high pick that didn't work because the team has been bad, and then he's been a backup to Brock Purdy and a backup to Baker Mayfield and da. And at that point, he would be evidence that you can find quarterback play in unexpected places. And now he's evidence that you need the quarterback to win. I don't care what you do. It's your Panthers here at number 8. You can take someone like Fernando Mendoza, who's a mid-tier like quarterback prospect, like a solid quarterback prospect, or you could take in a Hall of Fame
Brock
talent.
Bowers, who has just won so damn much.
I'm just saying, you could take a Hall of Fame quarterback, or you could take someone who could be a total bust. You could take a known Hall of Fame, or it's up to you. I would know what I would do in your situation here, but you could make the decision.
The issue with this experiment is that you don't have to live with the quarterback reality. I realized this. The problem with doing one round is that you can just be like, well, we'll figure it out later, but then there is no later that comes. It's the same as being like,
yeah, the episode ends, and I have,
yes, the episode ends, and I picked Brock Purdy over Bowers, and then everyone in the comments is like, well, I think Bowers is much better than Brock Purdy, and I have to be like, it's not.
That's not what the comments would say, though. They would say, yes, Theo's a contrarian. Theo is crazy.
Anything right?
That is what they're gonna.
That is what they're gonna say. I don't know. I just think that they're Hall of Famers on the board, and we don't know what Mendoza is. So I would go with the guy that's a lock Hall of Famer, and I would get quarterback later. That would be my plan. What are you going to do? Who are you going to pick?
Yes, and you're going to get.
See, I'm not thinking about the YouTube comments even. Actually, I'm thinking about the quote tweets. If we're not doing a Twitter graphic for this shit. We're not.
We should.
Under any circumstances. No. And they're going to blow our legs off.
Who cares what they think?
They can't.
They could not do a better job.
We don't know who does.
They could not do a better job.
I don't care. I'll take Purdy. Fine, I'll take Purdy. All right, Mendoza is a little bit of a risk. Purdy, right. I think, is a good balance of kind of being a creator and being able to throw over the middle of the field. He doesn't have those huge access problems.
Sure.
So,
yeah, well, Purdy, what is he without Kittle? What is he without? He was off the scrap heap. He was a 7th-round pick. They found someone in the middle of nowhere. They found someone at the last pick of the draft, and they threw him in with Trent Williams and Ayuk and CMC and Kittle and Bosa and Warner. Those are the guys who are important.
But you're not going to get all those guys.
You're listing a bunch of guys. You're listing 5-10 guys.
I'm listing guys.
I can only pick one. Oh, my God. Oh, it's just the same as the running back shit. It really, really is. The offensive line is more important to the running game. And then it's like, yeah, the offensive line is 5 fucking players. I can pick one player.
You've got a guy who
I can only pick one guy. You just picked
a guy who had a super team and lost over like the Fred Warner who makes it a super team.
Fred Warner was on that great team and lost too.
But he's been there through multiple eras. He's the best linebacker in the league. Like, he's the best linebacker in the league, and he was there when Jimmy Garoppolo got to the Super Bowl, and he was there when Brock Purdy got to the Super Bowl.
They lost on like overtime shenanigans too, and like there's no way
you need that team, and you're giving it up by taking him when
what are you trying to build? What are you trying to build if I take Fred Warner or Bowers?
The best team in the league.
I need the same thing. Okay, yes.
But you're not going to get Fred.
You're trying to build the best team in the league.
And
oh my God, the decent quarterback is part of that, though.
Yes.
There's more decent quarterbacks than great linebackers.
No, there is not.
Yes, there are.
Nope.
Yes, there are.
You're wrong.
That's why Purdy is the 7th. That's why Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant and decent in the first place.
Okay, well, first and foremost, you already have named guys who didn't go in the first round, but again, you would never fucking hold them to that standard, right? Where did Kittle go? He's off the scrap heap. Okay, I can get a tight end off the scrap heap, right? You're acting like the only value that we can win here is off of QB. Like I can't win value on a tight end or a linebacker or a tackle. No, absolutely, yes, I can. And it's going to come down whoever would win this draft, whoever wins the most value in that way. This idea that because quarterback
is the only one where it's like, I need the 15th best quarterback. I need him right now. Whereas with tight end, like I'm only taking, and it's even later, I'm only taking the best one off to the best start, who's 23, already a first team All-Pro, That's the only tight end you dream of taking here, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you can value non-number one overall players at their position pretty easily. And like, look, you can say what you want, but if you're saying like, look, you can get them off the scrap heap. Okay, well, look, Purdy is the highest paid player on the 49ers by far, easily. Yeah, the 49ers got Purdy off the scrap heap. After what? What was the quarterback move that it wasn't exactly a scrap heap move. They didn't exactly go to the junkyard before, and they traded 3 first-round draft picks to try to get a guy. So like, I just completely disagree with the way that you're valuing this and analyzing this. I understand the idea is sort of like, oh, okay, what would be like the first way to think to win would be to like, what if I nailed the quarterback selection with like the 29th QB where I could get him like round 4 or 5 or something like that. And that gave me kind of a leg up. But honestly, like, you could also make up for taking a quarterback who's kind of mid early by just nailing like your 5th round selection or something, which undeniably a team would end up doing.
And undeniably,
right?
I think that's easier. I think it's easier to make up ground later in the draft at other positions than it is trying to game the system at quarterback. When again, it's not Madden, you can't control these guys.
Right. And it's like, well, what happens if I swing around and I grab Loveland in the 2nd?
Yeah,
sure.
I like, although I don't know how far it would take before I would end up picking Loveland.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not out of players. I'm just not out of players before the next quarterback here, I guess, is really our only difference, because we've been on a big run of non-quarterbacks getting taken, right?
And it's been too many anyway, because it's just so hard to actually get yourself to do it. But in real life, teams pay these dudes $50 million. And I understand on some level, some of these teams do it because they're in a position to win and they don't want to just blow it up. And you can kind of mess with the money a little bit, and that changes the math on that. Whereas like with this pick, like if I paid Daniel Jones $50 million, the cost is not the same as picking him right here, right? Because the opportunity cost is actually bigger, especially with restructures.
Yes.
That's fair. That's, I think, a good point. But like, I don't know, man. I just don't think teams would be so la-di-da-di-da about getting a QB. I really, really don't. I think the answer is between 16 and 20. I think that's even probably a little bit conservative. Yeah. And as much as it pains me to actually sit here and do it, I'll go Purdy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. And it's true that, like, yes, you do need a quarterback. And the last team without the musical chair, like that gets the chair yanked out from under them, right? They're going to be the worst team in this league, right? The team that got just too cute and hung out to dry, like, yeah, you're going to be the worst team. But then maybe you get the first overall pick going forward is the other big thing.
You're wildly overestimating how many quarterbacks there are. There's like maybe, those tiers I talked about earlier, how many guys do you think fall into the first 3 tiers? If you include like
shots and guys,
and shots that you don't
guys
like.
You don't believe in.
but other teams would consider a serious shots. Yeah. So I'm saying, like, even in a best case scenario, let's say there's a mix. Like, you are a Baker guy, you aren't a Daniel Jones guy, you do like Darnold, maybe you like Bryce, but you don't like, I don't know, like Bowden. I'm just random, right? Because everyone's gonna have different opinions, right? Even if I give the most like gracious standard for what we'll be all right at quarterback guy is, minimum 8 teams not rolling there with one minimum. And that's including like Daniel Jones or Bryce, who's like, guys who are playing for their career, and Bryce was better last year. That's a whole nother conversation. This is a long episode already.
It is.
But yeah, there's way more teams that would miss.
Even in your tier 3, you named it guys you don't believe in, but you should still take them because like maybe you're just not seeing it, or like you need to. Like, if I don't believe in them,
you need to take them early, so you're not even taking from that group. And let me ask you this: why can't I take a mid-ass quarterback? Why can't I take the most mid-ass quarterback in the league? And then, I'll be horrible, right? I'll be fucking terrible because it makes no difference because he's a scrap heap loser, right? And then I can get the first overall pick and I can draft Jeremiah Smith.
Bang.
I guess.
But we don't look at other positions like that.
I guess, yeah. You could draft Jeremiah Smith. or trade back and get value
Or
and things
trade
like
back.
that. I just think if I was starting it, if it's Warner or Brock Purdy, I'd just rather have Warner at the end of the day. That's
Warner's
what my
too
take
old.
is.
Warner, I'm not taking.
Warner is way too old to even be considered for
Yeah.
the first round in this.
Really?
Way,
How old
way
is
too
he?
old.
Oh yeah,
He's
like 30.
Yeah. This is his.
So is Myles Garrett.
Miles Garrett's better than Fred Warner. By a lot.
And he's an off-ball
By a little bit.
linebacker. Come on.
No, by a lot.
Are you going to take Warner? No way.
You're here with the Saints at 26, Theo.
How old is Jeffrey Simmons?
28.
I think I will take Fred Warner. I think I will take Fred Warner.
Wow.
For the same reason as Myles Garrett. Like, he's just transcendent at the position.
He's great.
Shaking your head.
It just isn't going to work, man. He's 30. You need him to have wild longevity.
Yes.
How many
linebackers have had that kind of longevity? I can't think of.
Okay. Maybe I can see, like, yeah, maybe that's too old.
Over Brock Bowers, who is first team All Pro in 23 and plays a position that lends itself and isn't coming off of major injury. Again, no disrespect to Warner.
Right.
Anything can happen. I'm not saying I know the future. Guys come back and then are awesome for 5 more years. Thomas Davis, obviously not transcendent like Warner, but he was a great player very late into his career after a lot of major injuries.
And Warner was like a week away from coming back. And I think like he's one of the few guys in the league who's like kind of in a tier by himself at the top of the position. Like, you could pull 100 million people about who the best linebacker is. Every single one of them is going to say Fred Warner. Every single one of them is going to say Fred Warner. So to me, that's the value in picking him, is like, I could, like, someone else has already gotten a better player at the other positions outside.
But why does that make it more likely that you're going to go win the Super Bowl?
Because you have, like, imagine a meter of like talent. And if you're taking someone who's the best at their position by far, like, you're getting a leg up over literally every other team. If you're taking somebody who is the third best player at their position, you're not getting a leg up on every other team. You're getting a leg up on 29 other teams or whatever that is, right? If you're taking the best
next to the analytics cone that the Bears use, and
I don't know what is it that
games, quite frankly. I just don't know if that's a way that I agree to look at it. I think it just feels nice to have like the very, very best guy.
Yeah.
But like,
and also, how much
is
that
directly involved in like some of the best defenses of the 20s here, and 2 Super Bowl teams and all that. Like,
but how does your
it's not like he's toiling away on.
How does your talent meter calculate for the fact that if he retires at 32, now all of a sudden you have the worst linebacker in the NFL?
Yeah,
instead of
that's very fair. That's very fair. So maybe I won't go with Warner for that reason. I'll go with like Tristan Wirfs, who's a lot younger and also an elite player.
To come down.
Wirfs is there. I like Wirfs.
Yep.
I'll go with Wirfs because 30 is old. He's entering his age 27 season, though. I don't know, though.
Tackles have more longevity.
That's totally different for tackle.
Yeah, you're right.
Is.
Right.
I mean, I would probably still go Bowers, but
yes,
I don't know. Wirfs is pretty good. Wirfs is a very, very valid next pick. Blaiden, you're here at 27.
I will take Brock Bowers pretty easily. We've talked about he is the best tight end in football by a pretty fair margin. You could throw Loveland is close behind. I
don't think McBride is that far off.
That's what McBride's another guy who's really close there. And now
Kraft is in the next tier, I'm afraid. I think. But he's kind of a different guy. It's a little tough because he's like such an elite blocker and he's an elite after the catch guy, but he's not the route runner that like a Loveland or a Bowers is. He just isn't quite that same type of dude.
Well, that's what's kind of made me shy away from Bowers, is like Bowers in fantasy, take him because you can put him at tight end and he acts like a wide receiver. Take him. If you're building a real football team, the tight end who's the slot weapon, there's your positional value for me of like, what's that positional value? Because I feel that. I think, but Kelsey has won many Super Bowls and he's that. So
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to disrespect Tucker Kraft.
Yes.
Of all the players we have not disrespected on this episode, he's number one by far. But
no, I mean, if he's Travis Kelce, obviously Travis Kelce has been at the pinnacle of
he's been cool
offense like over the last several years. So maybe me worrying about positional value again takes an L.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll take Bowers for the Titans at 27. And then for 28, I'm thinking I'm just going to give the Raiders their guy back and take Fernando Mendoza here.
I like that. That's fun. I don't think this is crazy. I understand that there's maybe a little bit of a Goff thing to him, but like if the age in particular,
right?
Yeah, I think a team would roll those dice, even though he's not a crazy prospect. Like you talk about the Penix or the Bo Nix, I do think he's like a better prospect than those guys were. Like I think he would have gone above those dudes in that redraft, but I also think that those dudes could have very well been considered to go pretty highly as well. It wouldn't have shocked me, maybe not all the way in the first round, but they wouldn't have been far behind, right? I wonder where Ty Simpson would go in this though, because I'm so much lower. We're lower on him.
Yes,
but he would probably still go pretty high in a real draft. So I think Mendoza here back to the Raiders is very sweet when we've had some very sour selections in terms of the player team combinations.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. But I mean, I've done these kind of things in Madden where I've ended up with Joe Burrow on the Browns, like,
right.
And eventually,
this is real.
This is real.
When you do that,
that's true.
We
do this. This is happening. This is where, and Theo, you got my Browns here, and
there is a real Giants fan that listened to you take Hurts.
That's true. That's true. What are you going to do for my Browns, Theo, at pick 29?
How old is Zach Bond? I'm taking a linebacker, buddy. He's 29. I'm taking Fred Warner.
You're just obsessed with that. You're just doing
First of all, if you're going to take a linebacker, just take Schlesinger.
Ooh.
Like, if that's like Zach Bond's 29, dude.
You know who I'll take actually if I'm going to take someone old? How about this? I'll once again. Why
do you have to take someone old?
I'm taking Stafford.
You're taking it because they're old.
I'm taking somebody. Well, I have this list of the players, and Warner's like best available, right? So, and I'm thinking. Some of these legends, man, they play a long freaking time. Like some of these legends, Bobby Wagner, they're still about it.
But he wasn't.
But he's not. He's obviously one-dimensional.
Actually, like that, yeah.
Right. He's one-dimensional now. But Warner is still the best linebacker in the league. Last we saw. But I'll go if I'm going to take someone with a limited window, and I think I am just because of these young, unproven quarterbacks. I just don't have anybody with high enough grade to take them over someone that I believe is like first team All Pro, and I don't think they could be first team All Pro. I'll go with Stafford because he can be first team All Pro.
Yeah,
and he's a quarterback, and who knows? Like, yeah, he's 38. Maybe he has another MVP caliber season. Maybe he has maybe he ages more like Brady than Rodgers if he can avoid an Achilles tear or something like that. He's still going to know everything there is to know about defenses and be a master of the game. He still has a lot of arm talent. I think pressure obviously is a bit of an issue for him and scrambling, but he really is a phenomenal top 10 quarterback and better than Brock Purdy and better than Fernando Mendoza with an exclamation point, I'd say. It's just you're not getting him for that length of time. But your Super Bowl is legitimately wide open, and he's a playoff riser and all these things. Nothing is really off the table when he's your quarterback. So
okay,
I'll go with Matthew Stafford here for the Browns, and once again I'll leave Fred Warner. But I haven't forgotten about you, Goat. Fred Warner, I haven't.
You have one more pick, Theo. Theo, you're gonna have the last pick, so be ready. I mean, if you want to do it.
Don't I get two?
You have two here, Matt. You got two back to back, and then
I have
Theo,
30 and 31.
You have 30 and 31. Theo ends it with 32.
And who are they? Not that it really
Jets,
matters.
Cardinals.
All right, Jets. All right, I'll get the quarterback number healthy.
Yeah.
Ultimate respect play.
Yeah. You could just take Darnold.
I'm thinking. Hold on. I'm calculating.
What are you thinking about?
Let me calculate. It's between
Darnold, I'm
Goff
taking over
and-
Purdy too. Oh, I didn't even think about that. But whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Darnold has some real pressure issues, man.
Yeah. Goff would
But
be,
he can make every throw.
Goff would be a little safer, maybe. I don't know.
Goff would be a little safer. All right, we'll throw some respect on Darnold.
Yeah.
We'll throw some respect on Darnold. We'll put him here at 30.
Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
That's okay. That's okay. All right, and why don't I go Hutchinson? How about
Yeah.
as a very valuable edge rusher as the next pick and 25 years old, and I call it there.
Theo, okay. Listen to me. You can take Fred Warner if you want, but think about Gonzo. I just think
Think about Byron Murphy. How about 23 years old, interior defensive line, tip-ting.
Think about Baker. He's a quarterback.
Nobody said that. Making up guys to be mad at.
Now, interesting. None of us have taken a running back. Theo, you could take Saquon.
Oh, it's probably no big deal. Positional value.
Saquon's on my list. Saquon's on my list. I mean, Saquon showed up and
over Bijan. Your age
Saquon showed up
valuation
and
here
the
is just
Eagles won the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Come on, it's not that simple.
This impossible standard of
And
winning a Super Bowl. He actually
in the
did
wild card if it was.
He actually did it. This impossible standard that you can't hold any skill position player to. Saquon's done it.
But it's unimaginable for me to pick Cam Ward over Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saquon over Baker to me makes more sense than Cam Ward over Lawrence, but whatever. Saquon over Goff, Gibbs, or whoever you want to say, Bijan.
You're taking like a 28-year-old running back in the first round of you are a psycho, dude.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
See, there is. I could go with Gardner. I could go with Gonzo. I could go with Christian Darrisaw. I'm actually going to go with, I think, Creed Humphrey.
Oh, that's not bad.
I'm going to go with Creed Humphrey. He's 26.
Yeah.
He's about to turn 27, but he's 26 right now. Best center in the league, I think.
That's a good balance. That makes sense.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm a logical guy. To a crazy extent, maybe the most logical.
Would like that. I'm just using facts and logic, and I guess my co-host ate that.
Theo hit us. He's the facts don't care about your feelings.
I stand on my age evaluation, and I stand on that a lot of quarterbacks would go high. Yeah. I will admit, when we get past that top tier of 12, when it gets into the Purdys and the Goffs and the Darnolds and the Hurts, I really start to lose my handle on.
I mean, Fernando Mendoza is the worst pick of this first round. I mean, we got a guy who could be a bust, and you're taking him over the best center in the league, the best linebacker in the league, the best. He could be bad. This pick, there's no pick that look, maybe he's.
But think about the Texans.
Tom Brady.
You take Will Anderson, and they could end up with no quarterback. They could end up with Shedeur Sanders.
They could.
It could be. They could have 9 out there.
Basically, don't think there's any risk of having.
They could have 9 out there, dude. I'm not even saying that I love Mendoza. You're right. You don't know, but I would rather take a chance on having even above average quarterback play than having the worst quarterback in football.
You know what? I don't even want to get into this. I was having a discussion with people. Where would you take
fair.
This in all of this? This is a very long episode.
It's already almost 2.5 hours.
I agree that there's risk with Mendoza. I agree that when it comes down to a stud now versus Mendoza, more times than not, the stud will end up looking like the better pick in the long run. If you're watching this in 2036 or whatever, probably more often than not. But the upside for landing the quarterback is so much wildly higher.
Yes,
the upside is wild. And if Mendoza turns it, or if they turn it around and the Raiders make the playoffs, everybody like, well, Mendoza, he did it, but it's also because they got Linderbaum, and it's also because they got Brock Bowers.
That's
and it's
true
also because
for any player. It's true for any player.
But one gets extra priorities.
Yes, quarterback is more valuable.
Right, but mid quarterback over more. That's why they all go up high, and I took them up high. But then it reaches a point where like you're just taking. You're taking someone who plateaus your team because you're trying to not be the worst, but you're just plateauing your team. You're playing.
I don't think they don't. Nope.
Yeah.
You're not. I just totally disagree with that. The only way to gain any value in this draft is not with quarterback. You can do it with any position.
Yeah.
You could take a bunch of other young guys and hope they develop strongly. At any other position. And when I nail the Loveland pick for every team that took a mid quarterback,
when Richardson is the next Darnold, bro.
This is the thing.
That's true. Fair enough. But that's our draft. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm not going to read off every single pick.
Because we'll post a graphic on Twitter.
Because we're going to post
we
a
actually
graphic.
do have to do that.
We're going to get 1,000 quote tweets, and we're going to get our legs chopped off by everyone that hates this draft, even though, again, it's illegal. They can't do that. But as always, from your favorite fellas here at Stay Hot, thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.